There we go. Hello. Welcome to Trial TV Live. I am the Squeegee of Justice. Thank you so much for joining us for our weekly recap of Georgia versus Colin Gray. I am joined by my co-host, Claire, and we will bring her up to the stage now and welcome her in. Hello, Claire. How are you?
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on a Saturday stream. If you guys are watching us live, we are recapping week one of a very, very, very interesting trial. One that will set precedent, case law, has a lot of
Mm.
people talking, will definitely be historic on one way or the other, maybe already is. So Claire is with us. We're going to break it all down week one. And Claire, I'll throw it to you. What do you think? Give me your overall 30,000 foot impressions of week one
My
so far.
my 30,000 foot impression is get a lot of tissues. Get tissues, like buckle up because like the testimony alone in the first week was so horrifying to
Hmm.
relive everything, and you can't help but get like the emotional tug. Like I really feel for the jury at this point
Hmm.
because well, not going to be a popular opinion, but that's not what this case is about. It's not about whether Colt did this crime. He did. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
Video of it. There's no doubt about it.
Hmm.
To bring in all of those witnesses to talk about the horrificness of the crime was such an emotional pull on the jury.
Hmm.
And for the prosecution, that's not what they need to prove.
Hmm.
It's all the other stuff that in my humble opinion is getting lost a little bit. The
Hmm.
proof that the father, Colin,
Hmm.
actually knew, no doubt about it. And that's the thing. This is a criminal case, not a civil case. If this was a civil case, Colin Gray would be paying millions of dollars, and it's a slam dunk, in my
Hmm.
humble opinion. I'm not a lawyer, but
Hmm.
bring that jury in there, and have them listen to those cases and see the damage that was done and
Hmm.
know that the school was involved, know that police were out to the house. They don't need to prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt. A slam dunk in a civil case, but that's not what this is.
Hmm.
This is a criminal case where
Right.
there's not even a law that they can actually charge Colin Gray with outright. The
Hmm.
law is insufficient everywhere in this case. They're using a child abuse law to get him for this.
Hmm.
They're saying he was actually so cruel to his own child and so neglectful to his own child that this event happened.
Hmm.
That's how they're getting him charged with murder.
Hmm.
Cruelty to a child, not to those children. And that's where people are confused. They're
Hmm.
not saying that he was Colin, the father was cruel to these children. They're saying he was cruel to his own child enough and neglectful enough to be charged with murder and manslaughter in these cases.
Hmm.
And it's and that's hard to prove.
Now, let me ask you this question though. When they were going through the charges on day one, they were saying two counts of cruelty to children for Christian and Mason, three counts
Mhm.
of cruelty to children, Melanie, Natalie,
And
Taylor.
that's on the yeah, that's on the cruelty, but first they have to prove the cruelty to Colt
Hmm.
to get to that part. It's like this
Okay.
there's like stepping stones to it. In with this charge, at least most criminal charges, you think they need to prove intent, right? They have to
Hmm.
prove that well, Colin absolutely willfully disregarded everything.
Hmm.
And that's what I would like to ask everybody. Do you really think that the man sitting there in the situation that they were in actually willfully was doing nothing? I mean,
It's a great
they,
question. He did
he did
some,
some.
but he
But
also didn't do enough, I
I
think.
mean, as a parent, I look at it and I say, yeah, bad choice, really bad
Hmm.
choice. But then you have to remember, I was having this conversation all week with like dozens of people because I
Hmm.
knew that my take on it was going to be people are going to be like, Claire, like, how can you look at it like so logistically like that, so logically like that? I
Hmm.
have to. I
Hmm.
have to. This is about kids who got shot. This is about
Hmm.
people in a school where you're supposed to be safe. and there are people who did not make it out alive. This is about a kid who fell through the cracks.
Yeah.
I mean, if Colt Gray is a murderer at this point, and yet still my heart bleeds for this kid.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
Anybody who knows the situation, you hear more and more about his family life,
Hmm.
just what his grandmother was saying. And I love his grandmother's testimony. At least she was honest about stuff. But if you don't think that there's confirmation bias when you have family members talking about this stuff in hindsight, you don't think that everybody involved with this has got some kind of confirmation bias. Colin Gray is Colt's father.
Hmm.
He's always no, nope. I just asked the chat. I have everybody watching.
Hmm.
What parent wants to think their child is capable of such a thing?
Yeah. No, 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 no parent. No parent
You're
wants to
not,
think that. Yeah.
you're not going to automatically go there.
Yeah.
You know the kid's having trouble. You know the kid is struggling. And yes, he was. And when they interviewed him in 2023, he was all over it. He was teaching him good safe, good protocols about the gun. So he says he was taking him hunting. Colt
Hmm.
loved it. Even the officers supported that.
Yeah.
Better him out there shooting that rifle at a deer than playing video games. They were all for it. They
Hmm.
they were,
Yeah.
and he was active. He was now having trouble. I mean, they just got evicted. He tells the story because he gives them, he's out working and putting money into the house. His wife's supposed to be paying the rent. She's out doing whatever with the money instead. They get
Hmm.
evicted,
Hmm.
like called out in front of everybody and get removed.
Hmm.
The woman herself, oh God, so many issues with the mom, like don't even get me started. I
Yeah.
mean, giving her child unregulated drugs without a prescription, without
Hmm.
therapy, under no advice of anybody.
Right.
Who thinks like that? I mean, as far as judgment issues, if
Yeah.
this was a trial about judgment, let's lock about 50 people up. Like
Hmm.
seriously.
Yeah. Even grandma, I mean, she came across as very nice and kind and warm and
And how
caring, and
much
yet how did
yeah,
she not know? My biggest takeaway from that was how did
she
she said she visited like every 6 weeks. How did she not know that?
confirmation bias. Yeah, she doesn't want to think the worst. She's
No, no, no.
already making excuses.
How did she not know that Colt missed the entire eighth grade? She was visiting every six
Exactly.
weeks. How did she not know
Because
that?
because it's confirmation bias. You don't want to
Yeah.
see it. You
Yeah.
want
I
to
mean,
see the good in your kid.
but just
You want
logistically, was Colt going saying, "Hey, I'm going to go to school now," and then he would go hang out at the like? How did he pull the wool over their eyes? I mean, if he's sitting in it's Monday through Friday and he's sitting in his room from 9 till whatever playing video games, it's like no, you should be at school. So he must have been leaving house. Like, how do you just not know that? You
yeah.
know?
I exactly. And but that's the thing. You don't want to see like you see a kid struggling and
Hmm.
he's struggling and he's telling you he's struggling and he's volatile. I mean, the testimony from the grandmother shows how volatile he is when he's
Hmm.
challenged. He's got a short fuse. He blames, he's accusatory. He spirals really, really quick.
Hmm.
And so basically when he's doing a little bit better, they want to just concentrate on all of that. And it basically is just keeping him even. But even with the grandmother's testimony, as much as I appreciate her honesty, she
Hmm.
was not telling, if you look at legally about this case, she's not telling Colin all of this stuff that she knows.
No, she
She's
wasn't. Yeah.
she's protecting her daughter also, who has serious issues too. So I'm like, how
Right.
is she going to actually protect Colt too, when she's already not doing enough about her adult daughter who's
Right.
got custody of minor children, and
Right.
it the case is just it's just a quagmire. No matter who I talk to, it
Hmm.
always starts emotionally,
Hmm.
but the shooting, but the victims. And I understand the hard place that the prosecution it is because how do they get it's such a volatile case, how do they get justice for the victims and the families and everybody who was affected by this event? How do
Hmm.
they get justice? And the
Hmm.
fact that they have to go jump through hoops and somersaults to twist the law, and
Hmm.
no doubt about it. I mean, I'm hoping an attorney will actually tell me otherwise, but nobody has yet. I've talked to a
Hmm.
few that
Hmm.
this is not actually a twisting and an overreach of a law to try to
Hmm.
get a result. And it's actually going to be if you look at it just based on the law, it's going to be very difficult. I agree with Legally Blonde in there. The willfulness, the intent. Show me where Colin Gray willfully neglected everything that was going on. Here's a dad who's working, and he's getting thrown into the situation, a divorce. He's got a wife who doesn't really help. He's got 2 kids he's got to worry about, that she still had custody with it at some period of time. He does have some help from the grandmother. A cult is at an age where you want to give him some responsibility. You want to believe him. You're molding him into a man. He's 12, 13, 14 years old, you know. And I'm not making excuses for him. I'm just saying, how can any of us say that we would automatically assume that our child's gonna do something like this, even if they are struggling, you know?
Sure.
You know,
Well, after seeing the photos of there was two rifles on top of the closet in Colt's room. There was ammunition all over that house, all over that
yep.
house. So you
And
could
you know what?
counter your question about willfulness. Why weren't, I mean, a responsible gun owner would have those firearms locked up.
A responsible gun owner would, but under Georgia law, none of that is illegal when it comes to a rifle, and that's the crime, in my opinion, right here. Because if it was a handgun, slam dunk, Colin goes to jail, no doubt. But it's a rifle, and for some reason, Georgia won't cross that line about long guns and rifles. Okay, you don't have to store them the same way. You don't have to lock. They have serious laws about handing a handgun to a child, okay, a minor, but not a long gun. Okay, the same laws don't apply. There's a loophole there that is glaringly obvious in the way that they actually charge this case. It's not illegal to put that rifle anywhere in that house. It's not illegal at all to store the ammunition near it or anything. Doesn't have to even be locked up, which I don't understand this. Like, why won't they? Yeah, why won't they cross that line? Yeah, I just did a whole the research on it drove me crazy. Now you see why I'm insane about this case, because it's like, in my humble opinion, when you say, like, you know, give you the big drop on it, Colin Gray isn't the only responsible party in this whole thing. Did the school try? Yes, they did. The new school tried. You see more effort, like right there with the new school. You see effort from counselors. You do see effort, but the law itself is stopping them from going any further. Period. They all know the kids got mental health issues, but they're not actually removing their Colin. They're not demanding the therapy before he comes to school. The law itself is stopping them in every case. Georgia state law is actually the silent co-contributor to this case. You know, the uncharged co-defendant, in my opinion. Because those officers couldn't even say, you got to lock up the guns. Yeah, you know, it's great you're taking him hunting, but legally they couldn't say to Colin Gray, you need to lock up that rifle. You know, if he's having, you know, just you know, because wouldn't that be great if they had the law behind them and they could say, why don't you, you know, let's just call, you know, let's just stop and, you know, just cautionary, you know, in between, you know, you know, he does get upset. The way that Colin even expressed to those officers in 2023 how volatile he was. He's going to get red in the face. He's had a tough life. He, you know, he's going through some stuff. We just got evicted. This is really, you know, a volatile situation. Try not to upset him. Keep it real calm. He tells the officers straight out that that's going on. And none of those officers say, well, in that situation, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put you on a watch list. It's for your protection and for his protection if anything happens. Maybe you should lock up that rifle in between. Make sure there's no ammunition that he has access to. No, legally, they can't say any of that. They can't. Even though they're thinking it, everybody wants to do something, they can't. That's frustrating for me.
Sure. What about red flag laws? Did they? I guess they didn't have enough. Like, how does that work? Because I know Georgia has red flag laws, and that basically is if they have cause to think that somebody's going to cause, or if they have a reason to think that somebody's going to cause damage or hurt somebody via a weapon, they can go in. It could be, but it has to be judge ordered. They have to go to a judge. It's almost like
Mm-hmm.
getting, a search warrant. So, I don't know what the step is for those officers to say, all right, maybe we should put this kid on a red flag. Maybe we should investigate this further. They just kind of, wipe their hands knowing full well, no, they didn't. It was the FBI that said, got the tip. And
Mm-hmm.
then Colt's like, oh, no, 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 that wasn't me. That wasn't me. And that's it. They dropped it.
Right.
The officers
They
dropped
actually
it.
closed it, and they actually
Yeah.
told the father they couldn't say it was him.
Yeah.
And I do agree that Colin is neglectful here in a way.
Hmm.
We all are looking at it saying reasonably we all would have took more steps, right?
Sure.
We all, right? But you have to, I don't want to actually make it sound like I'm sticking up for him, but when I try to look at the situation, he too is going through a divorce with an unsupportive partner, so to speak. He's got
Yeah.
kids he's got to worry about. He's got stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
he's getting called at work all the time. When the last year, I absolutely agree with everyone when they say, well, the school did. The last school he went to, the whole month before, the
Hmm.
new school he's in, did they jump through hoops to try to find out what was going on? Absolutely, they did. They did everything they possibly could within the law and within the scope of what they're allowed to do. They're
Hmm.
calling all the time. They're questioning, they're wondering, they're talking about therapy. The grandmother has talked to them. But
Hmm.
Colin is no longer, from 2023, where he says he's in 7th grade, he's in touch with the school all the time because of the bullying and this, that, and the other thing, and
Hmm.
relocating. And then to not be in school for that whole next year.
Hmm.
And what is he telling his father? He's online, like doing online school, and he's not checking. Like, I don't know what is going on there. How do you
Hmm.
go a whole year missing in the school system?
I
But
don't
then
know.
again, they move around, right?
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
here's the thing. Did the actual child services have an open case on Colt? No, they're more worried about the minor children, the younger children that are still in Macy Gray's custody, because that's where the that's where the child services case actually lied. They
Hmm.
only like fringely are checking out on Colt regularly, until like towards the end you hear that they actually were checking regularly with him.
Hmm.
But they too are also just believing everything they're hearing and not actually following up on anything. How did
Hmm.
the child services not know that Colt was not in school for the whole year?
Hmm. Right. And when they would call Colt, I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
Colin, before they would
Right.
go over, and he wouldn't answer. So they would just, stop in. And I think that, well, the second time they stopped in, he said, I think he shows up in just a towel, right?
Yeah.
No other clothes other than a towel. And then he's like, I don't want to, I already talked to you guys. I don't want to, there's no need to talk any further. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, is that acceptable? Is that an acceptable answer? I don't know. And then there
Yeah.
was a couple of times where they would go and there was no furniture. It was just a ladder. So clearly they had moved out. So when they're moving from county to county, does it get transferred? Does that caseworker call up? I mean, they don't know where they are. So they are really
Yeah,
truly flying
that's
under the
the
radar,
thing.
you know?
They like I said, it's like the whole system failed in some way here. But
Yeah.
I don't think anyone was doing it intentionally.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? In some cases, it's because they can only go so far, like
Yeah.
with the school and the law enforcement officers,
Hmm.
because of the law. Um, but I also think there's some issues with Colin that I recognize, that
Hmm.
he may be making allowances for his son because he also is of a very volatile nature, in
Hmm.
frustrated with life in general, in and things like that. I don't think he's got great coping skills, to tell you the truth.
Right.
Oh,
Did you
uh,
catch that he was abused by his father? Did you catch that?
you know what? I don't know where I heard it, but I did definitely got that impression. Somebody said something during, like, there's so many witnesses, Chris. I'm done going crazy with who said what
Oh no,
and when.
I
Um,
heard it and I wrote it down. I'm trying to remember who said that. I think it must have been,
I thought
let
it was
me see if I
one.
can find it.
Oh,
Because
because sometimes Colin is talking so freely when you hear him in the interviews and stuff like that, and he's not
okay.
careful about the things that he says. But he's
Mhm.
also, if you really look at he's not giving you a lot of information.
All right, I found it. With
Yeah,
Shonda Goolsby. She was DFACS, DFCS,
yeah, yeah.
Department of Family.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
family
okay,
health services, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So here's my notes. Colt said mom had slapped him fall of 2021. Then grandma brought Colt in and set Colt up with therapy. And then she had a meeting and she said she met Colin the only time,
Hmm.
this is the only time she met Colin. He didn't like DFCS being in his life. He had an abusive father. They were moving and told them to get Colt counseling, and they said they would. So I'm pretty sure that she said that she met Colin, and Colin said that. I don't think Colt. I could have been wrong in my notes, but when I heard that and I typed it in, I'm like, wait a minute. So now Colin is saying he had an abusive father. So
Hmm.
I don't know. What do you make of that? If that's true.
I would say it would contribute to, he's working all the time. He's under pressure. He's got
Hmm.
personal feelings about people being involved in his life and checking stuff out, and feels, you would think he would think the opposite, since he was abused, that he would want people to check to
Hmm.
make sure nothing like that happened. Maybe he wishes people knew, what was going on with his life when he was a kid. But it
Yeah.
seems to be the opposite. He doesn't want child protect. It's like a pain in the butt. They're going to do stuff, out of my control. He also has negativity because he knows that, stuff that's going on with his wife, and she still has custody of the younger kids, and they're not really doing anything there. It gets really, really complicated when you put the family unit all together. It's
Hmm.
really kind of messed up. It,
Yeah.
it really, really is, because like there's problems with everything. And now I'm just wondering, like when we saw Colin in 2023 interview, what was he drinking in his hand? Was that an energy drink or was that a beer?
I thought it was at first I thought it was a beer, but then I'm like, no, I think it was more like a Red Bull or something like that,
An energy drink,
energy
right?
drink.
Because
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
one of the conversations I had, somebody was saying, well, the father's an alcoholic. I said, where did they say that? Because that's a big factor. That
Hmm.
would be a huge factor. And why wouldn't the prosecution put that on the stand? I definitely would.
Hmm.
Because that would actually be a slam dunk for the neglect right there, like,
Hmm.
and prove their case. But I haven't heard anything, you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
I think that person was just trying to justify his unwillingness to think that his child is actually doing. I mean, I don't think I would have believed my child that, oh, my case got hacked and whatever.
Hmm.
Especially, there's too many other things. I mean, let's talk about a shrine. How do you live in a house
Hmm.
where a kid's got a shrine
Yeah.
to a school shooter, then hear from the police that he may that they traced it to, first of all, they traced the IP to his house where he used to live.
Hmm.
I don't care what that kid tells me that he didn't do it. Well, it's not your little sister, and
Hmm.
I doubt it was your grandmother.
Right.
So, dude, we're just gonna go on the assumption it was you, and we're having the talk. And
Hmm.
here's what's gonna happen. And
Hmm.
you can scream hacker all you want, but this is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna err on the side of caution.
Hmm.
But it's not natural for parents to want to think their child can do something like this. Like
Hmm.
it, it, it's. Uh,
I also questioned that whole shrine thing because I'm like, well, maybe it was tucked away or something. No, it was the door was on the west wall, or yeah, the west wall. The shrine was on the east wall. You
mhm,
literally walk by the door and you look right in. There's this computer station. There's this shrine. So
right.
even if you don't have time to clean a room, which I'm guessing that Colin probably didn't have time to do much cleaning, you walk by and you see that and you'd be like, oh, it's not a musician, it's not a sports a figure, like what do kids put up on their walls,
Right.
music,
It,
actors, actresses,
mhm.
in the case of so then you see this guy and you're like, oh well, that's interesting, what's that about? Then you would think that anybody that gave
Mhm.
you
But he
know
only has part of the information. Like, he has the shrine, right? But he
mhm,
doesn't hear all the conversations that the grandmother and the mother did. about him idolizing the shooter and
True.
sending him money and stuff like that. They're not giving him the rest of the information. And
True.
believe me, I'm not sticking up for Colin here, people. So like,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. And
as
this is
a parent, I'm saying, okay, yeah, here's the shrine. It's a 13-year-old boy. I have
mhm,
brothers. One of my brothers would do stuff specifically to look horrible to try to drive my mother crazy. I
mhm,
don't know why. It's just an edgy thing.
mhm,
We all know young men in our lives when they're growing, growing pains and all that, that say and do hard, like, you know, they want to just bond with the most horrible thing in the world, to
mhm.
be edgy, to be strong, because they're feeling
Sure,
their way. Maybe
sure.
that's what Colin just thought it was. That was the kid's flex, so to
Mhm.
speak.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he should have wrote it off. I mean, school shootings are a horrible thing that we are dealing with on a daily basis here in the United States. I mean, I
Mhm,
know I have many friends in other countries and they just don't understand how we can possibly be living under this, but we
mhm,
do. These
mhm,
big school shootings and shootings in public places, mass shootings are horrible and they're happening all the time. And it's
mhm,
almost like we're afraid to have the conversation a lot of the times because of
mhm,
the pull back and forth. And believe me, I'm pro Second Amendment. I think everybody has a right to it, but
mhm,
reasonable and
mhm,
responsible gun laws, oh hell yeah, I'm for that too.
mhm,
Um, I just it's hard because we're living under the horribleness of the cloud of all of it, and yet and nothing moves fast enough to fix it. Like,
mhm. Yeah, yeah. And well,
do you think, here's a question for you. I've been wanting to ask you this question all week, and I tried not to put it in the chat.
sure.
He Colin did buy Colt a gun and everything.
Mhm,
But had he locked everything up, do you not think that this kid, particularly everything that we learned all week about Colt himself, not Colin,
mhm,
about Colt, don't
mhm.
you think he would have found a do you think he would have done it anyway?
He very well may have, and then Colin would have been we wouldn't be having this trial because Colin would have been like,
Exactly.
"No, it was
Ye
locked up. I have proof it was locked up," you know?
Mhm.
So then it would be totally on Colt's shoulders. Um, I think. I would think so. Um, I mean, there's just the red flags are just being, we're just layer after layer after layer of red flags, and Colin knew that um, Colt was had anger issues. He knew that. He didn't know. I don't think he knew about the schizophrenia or the what was it, manic. I think he his
Now,
mania
when
or
did
something.
you find out about the Zoloft? Was that, like, just days before the shooting? I mean, that's when I'm finding out that he's finding out from what the grandmother's testimony was, and they're arguing about the drugs and all.
Hmm.
That's when Colin finds out that the mother's been giving him Zoloft.
Hmm. Because
Like,
that was like in August. I think she started to give it to him.
yeah,
So it was
yeah,
literally
and well, the shooting was September 4th, so, like,
yeah.
and then they have that big thing. Wasn't it August 30? Is it August 30th that they have the big thing where they go to his job to talk
Uh,
to him about the threats and stuff like that? Something about the kid overheard the mother and the
oh yeah, yeah,
grandfather
yeah.
talking, and now he's like saying, and he's saying the mother is saying that he threatened to kill everybody, but no, he's saying no, she's the one who threatened to kill him. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's
So the
pretty
16th, it was
yeah.
August 16th. That's when Colt confronted her. So he went to get the kids. Colt confronted her. He went to, oh, so this is grandma. Yeah, this is grandma talking. So yeah, make sure mama leaves my Zoloft. Where the F is my Zoloft?
Mhm,
Yeah. So that was the 16th. So I think they had been giving it to him before that, maybe like
mhm.
July or, yeah. So when did Colin find that out? I guess he knew at that point in time because
Yeah,
because he references, um, the conversation that mom and dad were having, and I guess grandma was there too, about him wanting to kill them. I think was that what the
yeah.
conversation was about? I think.
Ye Yeah,
Um,
she was saying something like that, and he said, "How could you lie? I never said anything
yeah.
remotely like that. You're twisting," like, something about twisting his words or something like that.
Right. Right.
I mean there's just so many different players in here, and everybody's making bad choices. Hindsight's perfect vision. It's really easy to go back and say everybody should have did this, everybody should have did that. This is a pretty volatile family situation. I mean, this is
Yeah.
messed up family relations and communications to begin with. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that Colin didn't have enough information. I actually, in my heart of hearts, believed that Colin Gray had enough information to make a difference here.
Mm-hmm.
He chose not to
Mm-hmm.
look at the more negative stuff and to concentrate on the positive stuff with his son. He made
Mm-hmm.
a willful decision there. I agree with everyone. He just chose not to die, not to really deal with the
Mm-hmm.
hardest part of the situations that his
Mm-hmm.
son absolutely was spiraling out of control. He knows
Yeah.
he's volatile. He knows he's got issues, but he's
Mm-hmm.
just treating him like a troubled teen,
Mm-hmm.
probably very similar to how he was at that age. If you say
Mm-hmm.
he could have been abused, about he would have been acting out at that age, that there's a reason, and maybe he's thinking, well, there's a reason and I just need to get him through it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, not to make an excuse for him. That's really not his job as a
Mm-hmm.
parent. His job as a parent is, yes, I'll support you through it, but you need professional help, dude. Like, I can't
Mm-hmm.
do this on my own. Like, get some professionals involved.
Mm-hmm.
Just
And
part
he
of our
would.
job.
He did. He walked up to the door, quote, metaphorically, he walked up to the door when it was a crook. What was her name? The woman who did the therapy, Dawn Crook. She was the
Yeah.
therapist. He reached
Mhm.
out to her website and he said, "Hey, my son's got anger issues. He's going through some stuff." And so he would go right up to that door. He would knock on it, and then she contacted him 3 times. I think 2 phone calls, 1 email,
No
and he never
follow-up.
no
You
follow
know,
up. So he knew
and
something
think
was
about
going
that
on.
scenario. Yeah, and think about that scenario, because in order to get him into therapy, he's got to tell Colt, right? He's got to tell Colt, we're doing this, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
just imagine what that household was like as soon as, now that we know a little bit more about Colt, and
mm-hmm,
believe me, please, I'm not sticking up for Colin, but hey, the more we find out about Colt, and as soon as he knows he's going to therapy, as manipulative and hiding of things. I mean, when the defense says, listen, this kid purposely hides stuff, like he's telling you one thing and doing another all the time. I believe that. This
mm-hmm,
kid was manipulative. The grandmother, I mean, even the rolling of the eyes, oh boy, was he manipulative. Damn straight he
mm-hmm,
was manipulative. As soon
yeah,
as he finds out about therapy, how much begging, pleading, and I'll do good, I'll do whatever you say. I just don't want these people in my private life. I don't want to talk to anybody. That this kid is pushing back on his dad. I think every single time the father made an effort for therapy, that's what happened. This kid
mm-hmm,
spun out.
mm-hmm,
No, 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 that's not going to happen. How can you do this to me? Don't you believe in me? I just need somebody to support me. Believe me, I could just
right,
imagine the conversations going on at the house. And you got
yeah,
a father who already feels like he can't do enough. And you
mm-hmm,
got a kid screaming 100%. You just need to believe me. Like, nobody believes me. Everybody's against me.
right,
And the dad is the one falling for it. That's how he gets under the dad. That's how he gets what he wants at dad's house. You know what I
right.
mean?
So Jackie, this is like the whole crux of it. Did Colin know that he had mental health issues? It's coming out that he did, or at least he had anger issues, and he was violent and volatile. But I think the defense is going to say, um, well, he was trying to connect with him. This was his way of connecting with him, was
It
going hunting.
was.
This
It
was,
was. And you have to remember the climate. Even the officers are like, that's the climate there. As much as all of us have opinions about guns and this and that,
yeah,
that is just almost normal there to
yeah,
teach a young boy to hunt, to
yep,
teach him about a rifle and everything. Was he
hmm,
irresponsible in how they were stored in his house? Yes,
hmm,
absolutely. They should have been stored better.
yep,
Georgia law, it does have pretty strict laws about the hands-on keeping in minor children. They have
hmm.
to keep everything locked up. You have to keep the ammunition separate and all. But for some reason, not the rifles.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, maybe that'll change. Maybe this tragedy will change that legislation.
I have hope, Chris, but very little, because the
Hmm.
shooting was in 2024. It
Mm,
is February 2026. And
true.
the only thing the state did was prevent the local communities from filing their own gun safety laws
Mm,
to prevent stuff like this. That means a community like this community
Oh,
that
wow.
had a school shooting that wants to say, I don't care who you are. As soon as you're on there, the kid's in trouble. You can't
Mhm.
buy him a gun, not even a rifle, nothing. Like more strict laws about this, allowing officers in the school to do more. Nope, no local laws. Actually, they just reinstitute. You got to follow the state law, and you're not
Mhm.
allowed to institute laws of your own. Uh, to go harder. You got to go with the state minimal. And I
Mhm.
found that very disheartening. That's what they did since the
That
school
is.
shooting.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is. That is. Because then that's kind of like the feds telling the state what to do, the state telling the locals. I mean, it should be, we know our local community. We
Well,
should
this
be
is
able
this
to
is the actual
govern ourselves.
state of the state of Georgia saying that Barrow County can't institute a stricter law.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
what it's saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. That
Yeah.
that's an overreach because to me, there should be, hey, we know our community. We want to protect our community. It's like it happens all the time. Somebody gets killed in a car, and then they decide to put up a stoplight, or a stop sign.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like you don't need state's approval to do that. So why would you
Mhm.
need state approval to do this? So
Exactly, especially when you're trying to deal with a community that wants justice, that's hurting, that
yeah,
needs an answer. And here
yeah,
is like local, everyone involved locally wants to give everyone in the community some sort of answer or solution, and
yeah,
and they can't, and they can't,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Do you think we know Colt's going through psychiatric evaluation and all that stuff? Do you think, like, in your gut right now, do you think that he's going to go to trial, or do you think he's just going to take whatever? Well, he's going to spend life in prison wherever he is, whether it's in a mental institution or not. But do you think he's going to go? You think he's going to go to trial or no? What are you
Well,
thinking?
well, common sense, just looking at the evidence and how the jury is reacting right now to the emotional impact of this evidence,
Hmm.
knowing that he's on video, knowing he's not even like he's pled not guilty. I get it, but I really think he'll take a plea of the thing. I don't think there's any way this kid doesn't get life in prison. They're
Hmm.
trying him as an adult. It's
Yeah.
not like he's not just going to go away till he's 25 and then get out.
Yeah. No. No. No.
Um,
Well, would be not guilty, reason of insanity. So he would go into a mental health versus, mental institution versus prison.
I
That's
think
you
at
know.
his age, I wouldn't be surprised if the trial for Colt Gray, if he doesn't take a plea deal, is not delayed for years and years,
Mhm.
based on, just him growing and changing. What is he, 15 now?
Yeah, I
16,
think he
yeah.
might be 16. His birthday was in January. Yeah, I think he's
Yeah.
16. Yeah.
And I do believe that they'll just keep him in this mental facility until he can actually sit for trial, if he could ever sit for trial.
Mhm.
What we heard about this kid's mental state and the type of child he was
Mhm.
before he knows he's being going to just be locked up for the rest of his life and
Mhm.
have to actually deal with the consequences of what he did. Um, I don't really see his mental health resolving very quickly.
Mhm.
I
And he
don't.
self-diagnosed himself with schizophrenia. So who does that? I mean, he very well may have it, but
Yeah,
he's
who does that?
self-diagnosing it.
Every teenager with access of Google trying to manipulate everybody in their life. That's who does that, Chris. Like, yeah,
Right.
every kid with a computer that's trying to manipulate the adults in his life.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this kid is pretty manipulative, but I do understand that Colin should have done so much more. I do think he's turning a blind eye where he shouldn't, and
Mhm.
that's where willfulness comes in.
Mhm.
That last year, the months before, I mean, things got worse. I
Mhm.
think things were a lot different in 2023 when he and Colt were dealing with the eviction and things were quieter with just the two of them there, you
Mhm.
know. Because just imagine Colt's just saying, I need some peace. And Colin's just like, I just need to go to work and I need to trust you. And we're going to
Mhm.
do this together. And they got this
Mhm.
little thing going on there, And so he's trying not to challenge Colt as much,
Mhm.
because possibly Colt is manipulating him by being more calm in front of him and saying he only needs this. And it's mom that pisses me off. Mom threatens me. Mom
Mhm.
is the one who chooses like narcotics over us. Mom's the one that
Mhm.
got us. Mom's the problem.
Right. He's got the issue with mom. Clearly he's got issues with mom, but then he Googles abuse and how to kill your father. So he then after
Well, because
absolutely
yeah,
has
because
issues with dad too.
He definitely has issues because, well, after all, dad doesn't protect him from what's going on with mom, or dad
Yeah,
didn't do enough. Dad chose mom. That's
yeah,
the problem.
yeah. You're right.
Dad's supposed to be the hero, yeah, and
Yeah,
he's
maybe
not.
in the maybe when they're fighting and dad doesn't step in and help them. Maybe like when Kyle
Exactly.
or Colt and
I'll bet
Marcy.
you it's
Yeah.
it's every single time dad steps forward with calming sense and says, "No,
Mhm,
regardless of what anybody else is doing, you got to be responsible for your reactions." As soon
mhm,
as anything like that starts to happen, the kid spirals out and starts getting manipulative and
mhm,
starts attacking. Look how he loves his grandmother. Look how he abused and hurt his grandmother with words and
mhm.
actions
Yep.
every time he didn't get his way, talking
Yeah.
about all her other children like that and saying like she's a fake and a failure because
Mhm.
of all her adult children's lives. Like,
Yeah.
what kind of 14-year-old talks like this is this is major manipulation
I would
on a
never swear at my parents, let alone my grandparents like that at 14. I wouldn't even do it as an adult. I never said F off to my parents. I never
and
did.
not even
You
think,
know?
obviously not thinking clearly. This is the one adult in his life that's actually like loves him and is always checking up on him, always trying to
Mhm,
see like things are going on. He's just a little more consistent than the rest of them, so to speak.
mhm. Yeah.
You know, oh, but like you said, she's there every 6 weeks. How does she not know he wasn't in school all year?
Yeah.
Because she believes, here's the problem, because the adults in Colt's life believe him when he says, "No, it was just a little thing and it's okay now. Like I'm good. Like I'm
Mhm.
doing what I need to do." You
That's
know?
true. We just heard the really negative things. We don't know what when Colt was good, quote unquote good, or feeling good, he may have been like the nicest kid in the world, the sweetest kid in the world. We don't know that. We don't know that. We're
Mhm.
just hearing about all the negative and the violence and
I
all that.
mean,
You know.
grandma admits to not being very computer savvy. So if Colt
Hmm.
is saying he's on online school, like he's
Hmm.
like for that year.
Yeah.
But you know what? She's got the daughter who could check because Annie's the one registering them for online and all.
Right.
Annie, the her other daughter, Macy's sister, is actually the one who got the kids in online school now and is actually making sure that the kids stay in the custody of family members. These are Macy's family, the grandmother, the grandfather, the aunt, and others. The two yesterday, the chat was asking where the minor children were. They are
Mhm.
being taken care of as of now, still by family members. So all
Okay.
together, they're all pitching in and making sure. And the kids are in online school, and they're keeping them out of the system, so to speak, being
Okay.
cared for by relatives. Okay,
Okay.
but all on Macy's side of the family, all the grandmother, the grandfather, the aunt, they don't have legal custody, but they're
Hmm.
all taking care of the children.
Hmm.
So in other words, the state hasn't acquired them for custody,
Right.
and but they will have to have something legally done once if Colin is guilty and goes permanently to jail.
Right. Now, Jenny was 13, so she's what, 15 now? I think she's like a year
Mhm.
behind. And then Kali was 8, so he's like 10 now. So 10 and 15 or so. That's about how old they are now. So um,
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be interesting to hear. I don't think we will, but it's kind of like it's like the Canaro trial. It'd be interesting to hear from Jenny. What her perspective is because she's texting dad. Um,
Yeah, and dad's like, "Oh
mm,
no." And they're both like, "We don't want to talk about it in text." Like they both think
mhm,
it could be cult. Immediately they think it could be cult.
mhm,
So that's what really bothers me. And that's why I understand why everybody's saying he willfully is ignoring all this, because their first thought every time something happens is, oh gosh, it's cult.
mhm,
You know, the
mhm,
police come to the house. It's like, what did Colt do?
mhm.
you know,
Yep.
um, yeah,
Yeah. So
it's
that then I think that then goes also to Colin. Colin knew that his son was capable of doing this, even if
I think that's the nail in Colin's
yeah.
defense. That's the nail that just blows his defense away when they show
Okay.
up the day of the shooting and he's like, God, I knew it.
Yeah.
Like, I knew
And he's
it. I knew
texting
it.
his daughter, oh,
Because that gives the prosecution their hook. You
yeah.
knew it and you did nothing about it.
Yep.
There's the willful intent right there. There's
Yep.
the, neglect. There's how they're able to charge him this way
Right.
because of that.
Do we
Yeah.
know about Colin's parents? And have you done any research on
I
that?
haven't found
Barry's
anything on
asking.
them. I know he's
Yeah.
estranged from them. Nobody mentions them at all.
Yeah.
Like at all. I.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Do a QQQ, guys, and we're starring them, and we'll pull them up in a little bit. All right. So let's dive into some of the testimony. So day one, I have my notes, and again, we've gone through 57, should have been 58 with Marcy there, but 57 in 5 days, 57. So they're averaging over 10 witnesses a day. So, but every day has been emotional, right? So day one for me, I have Sheriff Judd Smith and then Jacqueline Garcia. Those were my two standouts. But it was also Kathleen Greer. She had period one. Oh, no, wait, no, she was period two. She's the one that tapped the alert. She was period two. Suzanne Harris. She was the one where Colt asked. She was period one. Um, he was one that asked about active shooters drills, and then Kathleen Greer. So who stood out for you? I mean, it's like every day there was amazing testimony, but day one, who stood out for you?
Um. mm, It well, we heard from several teachers on day one, right? We heard from the math teacher and the other teacher,
Yeah.
but actually, the way I was looking at the trial, because I knew it was so emotional, I wasn't as focused. And I know this is going to sound horrible, but hear me out.
Hmm.
As I was not as focused on victim or collateral victim statements at the time,
Hmm.
because I was already reading about what the charges were and what they had to prove. So I was really concentrating on law enforcement. So the
Hmm.
sheriff's department is something I was really looking at.
Hmm.
Um, the calls that came in, the interviews, I'm
Hmm.
really focused on those
Okay.
actual testimonies and those from the school that were legally responsible for reporting.
Hmm.
Like they have to report when they think something bad's going on. And so I was concentrating more on that. I mean, I cried when
Hmm.
to the math teacher, just watching how visibly upset she's
Hmm.
getting on the stand as she recalls.
Hmm.
Even the law enforcement officers, as they are actually speaking about what they saw
Hmm.
and what they were dealing with in
Yeah, Judd Smith, the
yeah,
sheriff, he
yeah,
was on the stand day one, and he broke down because he has a daughter, I think, in high school, and she was
he
texting
does.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he sees the impact, and I think,
Hmm.
for law enforcement, I understand, like, where they're coming from too. They can only do so much, and they know the insufficiencies in the law, and they
Hmm.
know what needs to happen, and they have the frustration that it's not happening,
Yeah.
so I really feel for them, but that probably was the most impactful for day 1 for me, was the sheriff's
Hmm.
department, testimony, that seeing how emotional he still was,
Yeah.
you know,
And even
about
though
it.
with 2,000 kids in that middle school, he's still like, I just get the sense that he probably knows like all of them. He probably goes to the football games,
Mhm.
and Georgia, everybody loves football in Georgia.
Well, if not, he sure made sure he knew every kid's name and the situation around them for testimony.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
absolutely.
I
Yeah,
just get the sense that
absolutely.
he's probably one of those type of, he just knows. Oh, and one of the patrol officers knew Coach Aspinwall. It's,
Mhm.
for a large, to me, that's a large school. 2,000, that's a large school, but they do seem like they're pretty tightly knit. When a law enforcement knew one of the victims, that, and so I got that sense from Sheriff Smith there.
Mhm.
Um, and I agree with you. So day two was all the students, right? That's when they pulled
That
up
was
all the
really,
students.
really hard. Yeah, yeah.
And I
Really,
agree with you.
everyone.
Yeah, a lot of chat. I think Barry just posted about that doesn't that's just for the emotional pull of the jury, right? As you said earlier at the beginning, does that prove anything? And I think we even had a poll. Why is it even being, why are they even being pulled in to testify. I mean, it's emotional for them. It's traumatic. You could hear it, um,
Well,
you
well
know,
played,
so
because the jury is not going to forget that.
yeah,
I think it was to hammer home the seriousness of the issue here.
yeah.
Of this is no doubt about it. This is going to set precedents, or
Mhm.
at least should.
Oh, it
Okay, there
will.
are
Sure.
several. There are
Yeah.
lots of. We keep saying only the Crumblies, only the Crumblies. No,
Mhm.
there are small cases all over the country going on where the parents actually plead to
Mhm.
misdemeanors and everything, and they're
Mhm.
all based on judgment.
Mhm.
Did you actually do enough? Whatever the law is, do you
Mhm.
take responsibility that you could have did more?
Mhm.
Most parents being faced with this issue aren't fighting like the Crumleys or this case with Colin Gray. Most of them are saying,
Mhm.
I should have done something more. Like, absolutely, I just refused. I didn't want to think my child could do it, but damn well, I sure helped it, like damn well. And misdemeanors, they're serving 4, 5, 6 years,
Mhm.
for neglect or this, that, or the other, whatever, the prosecution's offering, and there is no trial. I found
Mhm.
5 or 6 cases this morning,
Oh, wow.
all,
And
yeah.
that's all over the
So
country or in specific
all over the
states?
country, all
All
over
over.
the country.
Wow.
And so we're saying, but for precedents, for those pushing back, like, the pushback is there's no law that says I have to. Well, then damn well we need a law that says you do.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, yes, we should. Yes, we should. And that's how hard is that, to say that if you don't do whatever you can to keep firearms away from a child and they commit a crime with a firearm, you're
Mhm.
going to be charged with the same crime that the child did. Why
Mhm.
not? Why
Mhm.
not put that out there?
Mhm.
And is it going to help? Well, it might get parents to pay a little more attention when there are firearms in
Mhm.
the home. But we all know that some of these kids are going to do whatever. It's the mental health issue
Mhm.
is more of a crisis, actually, even.
Yeah.
Um, Enabling schools to actually go a little bit farther with mental health issues. To
Mhm.
to be honest, Colt Gray was in the new school for less than a month. He'd
Mhm.
already been in a fight. He'd already
Mhm.
vandalized the bathroom. He'd
Mhm.
already been absent more than half the time.
He was so
Okay.
he was there 5 days, right? He'd only been there 5
He
days, and you're
showed
right.
up 5 days.
He did all
He
this
got
stuff in
into a
5
fight. He
days.
was in the principal's office for a serious fight with another student, and he
Yeah.
had already vandalized the bathroom, destroyed a
Right.
bathroom.
Right.
Okay, so it's not like the school didn't already know. Okay, this kid should have been suspended the first day he showed up for his
Yeah.
behavior. They're also, by allowing Colt to actually attend that school. And I'm
Mhm.
just going to throw this out there. How much risk are they putting the other students at?
Mhm. Mhm.
We could go there too.
Yeah.
The insufficiencies in the law here are really getting under my skin. Like,
Mhm.
no one's able to do enough
Mhm.
to stop something like this from happening,
Right.
because isn't that the goal? We don't want school shootings. Like,
Right.
we don't. Okay.
Right.
Um, I mean, as soon as they knew he wasn't showing up for his therapy and everything, they're just documenting the information. There's nothing they can do about it.
Right.
I actually think, they already know that the family services is involved, but they're also overworked and they've got a case and they're doing what they can. So they're just sharing information back and forth, but nobody's actually able to put Colt in a 10-day hold for therapy. Like, nobody's able to actually come forward and say this kid is a danger to everybody around him. I think the school, after he vandalized the bathroom and attacked another student, I think they might have been able to tell family services, we think he's a danger to other people and students, and we don't want him in
Mhm.
our school, and
Yeah.
start, that process. But that also is a long process. I think the new school probably, if the shooting did not happen, the new school probably would have taken those kinds of steps. It sounded like they were being aggressive. And they
Mhm.
probably would have took steps to, no, you can't attend school here with regular students. You are a bad influence. You are a danger to everybody around. Like, no, you're not coming here.
Right.
Like, they probably would have had, suspended him or expelled him or had him proved, like, used every law they could to
Mhm.
get him, either out of their school, which is more likely what would happen, or to at least get them in mandatory therapy. Like somebody needs to put the foot down and say, no, this isn't an option. You don't get to tell your father you're not going. Your father doesn't need to procrastinate and delay and avoid the situation. You're going, dude. Like you're going or you're locked in there. Like, period. You know?
So Jenny was right. It was another school, Jefferson Middle School, where it was the vandalism. He got in a fight with the
The
other
vandalism.
kid.
Oh, it wasn't the new school. It was the
Yeah,
one before.
it was the one
So that
before.
was seventh grade where he told
Seventh
the
and
police
eighth. Yeah,
officer.
yeah,
So he
seventh. Yeah.
told the police officers he had no trouble in that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So that was a different one. Yeah. So he was at Apalachee for the 5 days. So he did not do all those things in those 5 days. So that's yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's a little bit different thing. So that's
Yeah.
my miscalculation there. I'm thinking this school, like, man, they had their hands full. Well, they were still, though. When you hear them talking, they were very aggressive about follow up. The emails are all there. The phone calls, and they're the ones who knew that he didn't make the therapy appointment that somebody said that he had, right?
That was the new school. Yeah, that was because grandma was like, she was the one that was telling the new school about finding out about, I think the place in Athens. I think that was the new school. Yeah, I think that was the new
Right.
school. Yeah. But all the
And
caseworkers were before. That was before he even got there.
yeah, I don't know about Georgia law in the school system with this
Mhm.
online schooling, but when a kid is having an emotional problems and is actually disruptive to the classroom and other students and really going through something that other students should not be exposed to that just causes problems, they do mandatory homeschooling like online. You're not allowed in the class with the other students. Like, so
Mhm.
this thing about, not having any room for him in the online registers, like, and stuff. They could
Mhm.
have mandated that, but I think the new school didn't have enough yet. Like, after all, it's only 1 month. Like, it's only like 1 month, you know?
Mhm. This is a great question, Alexa Rose. Thanks. Or comment. Like, there was no record of him going to eighth grade. So
Mhm.
how does he get then
I
into, like, how does that
I
even work?
have n that is really bugging me. Like, I hope when we find out,
Yeah,
because how do you go into the new school? Il Without no record of passing the 8th grade? Like,
right.
how did he?
And it's middle to high school too. It's not like it's, first to second or sixth to seventh, even ninth to 10th. I mean, it's literally going from middle school to high school. So it's,
So he's actually starting ninth grade? Did anybody actually say that? Because I was looking through my notes, and I can't see that anybody confirmed he was in the ninth grade in the new school, because that would blow my mind, how
well,
he actually got into the ninth grade without a transcript saying he passed 8th grade.
yeah, because he was not in middle school. He was at the high school. Everybody, all the classes, they were all freshmen. Everybody that testified, they were all freshmen. So he was in freshman algebra or whatever. Yeah. So he was in the high school. He was not at the middle school.
That is
Jenny
insane.
was at the middle school. He was at the high school. So how does he get into high school without transcripts, without records from the year before? I don't get that. Is
Yeah,
it,
that's so weird. Like, that school
yeah,
starts at ninth grade. Everybody's confirming. So
yeah,
how, if he didn't go to in they have no record of online schooling
yeah.
or being in a class for the whole year of 8th grade. Did he just register for 8th grade at a school and just not show up?
Well, no, I think Dad said he was going to homeschool him. I think that's what they were saying.
And they registered him for homeschooling. They said that there wasn't no room in the.
Yeah, yeah,
That would be a loophole too. How do you get to say, "Okay, I'm gonna be homeschooling him," and he's not in class, and yet he doesn't show up on the homeschooling rosters online, which
right.
the school is still obligated to follow up with protocols and stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
Well, they're the ones holding the rosters. How does he fall through the crack there, where they don't say, "Okay, there's no room in online, you have to come to school." Like like,
yeah. I,
it's
I
the law, right? That you have to be this is there.
One would think,
You
um,
either drop out or you need to be there. Like,
right?
you need to
So
be there.
it was Jenny Persinger. She was the director of data for the
Yeah.
school system. But here it says So she has all the records for Colt's school, but Marcy will testify later. She was the one communicating with the school. So then Colin, I'm not quite sure what all that meant, but she goes through from third grade all the way to eighth grade, meaning he didn't attend. So they were moving. They were moving a lot in fourth,
Yeah, but still, you
fifth, and
need your
sixth
transcripts,
and
and
seventh grade.
nobody,
Yeah,
you need transcripts to enter into the new school system, no matter where you're from,
yeah,
whether it's out of state or in state or a different county or a different town or whatever, school to school, the transcripts gets transferred. Like it's not a self-contained system from one school to the other. It's statewide, right?
right. Yeah, yeah,
And interstatewide. It's throughout the country. It's
right.
national. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Yeah, you can't move from Jersey to Florida. You've got to show your transcripts. You got to show that
yeah,
you,
exactly. You don't
you
get to
know,
just walk into high school in Florida
yeah,
and say, "Yeah, I'm from Jersey. Just take my word for it." Yeah, I
yeah,
paid
yeah.
grade. No
There's immunization. They were talking about that with Jenny, and her shots had to be up to date. Yeah, I'm just going through all my notes about the new school was emailing him back and forth, and he's like, they needed a utility bill, they needed updated shots, all this stuff, name on the lease, all this stuff.
mhm.
So I don't know why I don't know why they didn't have that database to say, hey, wait a minute, there's no record of Colt going to school in eighth grade.
See,
Again,
I don't know what it's like in Georgia. I just know here in New Jersey, like from school to school, there's
mhm,
transcripts.
mhm,
There's a actual proof of credits, like to see what level of credits you're at towards your graduation for
right,
like because now the system is a little bit different. It's not like grade to grade, it's credits
mhm,
towards graduation, you
right,
know, just fulfilling the requirement, right? And
right,
until that like last year of high school, they don't get real serious about you don't have enough like to do
right,
whatever. You got to go. It's like, there's the opportunity for summer school and all this other stuff if you're deficient in the credits. The only way they know that is by looking at the transcripts. Okay.
right,
So like in New Jersey, they request your transcripts and everything like that. You could probably start school, but there is like a request for everything. I don't
mhm,
know what Georgia's like. Some people in the chat are saying in Georgia they didn't need it, but I'm like, that sounds pretty messed up to me. How do they follow up? I mean, that new school knew a lot about Colt
mhm.
and Colin, didn't they? I mean, do you hear her talk? She was on the stand for a long time. The
Uh,
person responsible for the records at the school.
yeah, yeah, no,
Um,
she was. What was the question? Because I was reading Jenny's comments. What?
just like okay, what did Jenny just say? She's talking about Georgia though, right? So that's what I want to know.
Yeah. So 14-year-old who misses eighth grade will likely be placed in high school based on their age and social promotion policies rather than being held back, but they may need to make up. And
Okay, so
yeah,
yeah, it's like we'll prove it later kind of thing, kind of what I was saying about the credits. They
right.
move them
And here's
forward,
the credit recovery.
right?
All right. So while you
Hmm.
may enter ninth grade, you may be required to take remedial or credit recovery courses. Absolutely.
Thank
Because,
you, Jenny. That's what I was thinking
yeah,
too.
I
Yeah.
would think that, I mean, and like New York has certain, um, criteria, like they're, like if you move from 10th to 11th grade to another school, and I don't mean to put down any other school, but certain schools or certain states have higher regulations and policies, so you
Hmm.
may be either ahead or behind when you do move from one school to the other. um, I've known friends that have had that happen where they come from New York and they move somewhere else, and they're like, I did that, I did that in ninth grade. You guys are just doing that in 11th grade. And I'm being facetious, but you know what I'm saying? There are, so he is definitely behind. He's definitely behind because he's missed an entire uh, year, but he may be also advanced. He may be, hey, I already did algebra in eighth grade or whatever, so
Hmm.
I don't know. It's weird that they didn't even question that.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it I think maybe they did have the transcripts in eighth grade was missing, but like
Mhm.
Ginny said, they still would have put him in ninth grade rather than hold him back because he's got the opportunity to make up what he needed to learn in eighth grade with
Mhm.
remedial classes and testing. It's not unusual to have all students all in the same grade at different levels as you're
Mhm.
pushing through. There's remedial classes, lower classes, the higher, what do they call the honors roll classes, college bound, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it wouldn't be, I think Jenny's like spot on there. It wouldn't be that
Mhm.
uncommon to push him through based on the
Mhm.
lack of a transcript for the 8th grade. And I
Mhm.
think that the schools do communicate. Now, each state is different about how much they can communicate, like whether all of the offenses that a child may make, and I use that word lightly when it comes to
Mhm.
cult, the things that they actually know, and offenses, because they try not to, label a child as a problem from school to
Mhm.
school, but they do have to communicate any dangers or situations.
Mhm.
It's only common like between the counselors and all. I don't know how much the transcripts or the file from school to school would have on him,
Mhm.
because he did have a lot of trouble, uh, according to Colin, in the
Mhm.
2023 uh, interview on his porch,
Mhm.
that Colt was bullied a
Mhm.
lot
Mhm.
in 6th to 7th grade, although
Right.
Colt said no way. And here's the
Mhm.
thing that really got me. The father goes, "What do you mean you're not going to tell them? Like, I just told them you were bullied and everything." Like, because like he knows that Colt isn't being honest with people. He's actually either lying to his father or lying to the police in that moment when
Yeah.
he says, "Nope, I'm not being, no, everything's fine at this school.
Yeah.
Everything's,
I think that
I had friends in my other school.
mhm.
Nothing with, I had friends there. No, I wasn't. No, there was no bullying." I'm like,
Right.
what?
Yeah, I think both Colin and Colt lived life lying a lot. I was trying to get
Yes.
that out. I think
I
they
think,
manipulated and
yeah,
lied a lot, you know?
yeah, and I think everybody in that family except for grandma, I don't think she's purposely lying, but I think
Mhm.
she's got a little bit of confirmation bias there. Like, she got a very troubled daughter,
Right.
she's very troubled grandson. In She does what she can, but she don't want to admit how bad it is until it's like so bad you can't deal with it. Like the
Mhm.
progression of it as it goes along, until it's like, until he's actually saying he'd kill her. But even then, she's like, "Okay, I love you. Like, calm
Mhm.
down." I mean,
Mhm.
he's actually like saying all those horrible things to her
Mhm.
in her reaction in the
Mhm.
text messages.
How about her reaction? Aaron brought this up today. We were kind of talking about it. Marcy duct taping mom and grandma,
Yep.
and she's like, well, she didn't want to. She's had experience because she's an educator or whatever, so she's had experience with people being violent. Probably her daughter, I'm sure as well. And she didn't she didn't do anything to inflame the situation. So she allowed herself to get duct taped. Um, how do you feel about that? Like if your daughter is duct taping you to a chair, like would you fight back or would you just let her do it? Like
No, I think again, she's making excuses. Like, she's trying to understand where the daughter's coming from so much. She's actually accepting and making it acceptable, the bad behavior. Like,
mhm,
understanding where someone is coming from, you still need to hold them accountable for what they're doing.
mhm,
And that's a fine line there. And
mhm,
parents often struggle with this part of it. You want to support a child, you love them, you want to think the best of them. But understanding what they're going through and then allowing unacceptable behavior are two different things. And I
mhm,
really, am I wrong? I think duct taping your parent to a chair is a little bit on the unacceptable side of behavior in
yeah.
most social circles. I mean, just saying. Uh,
Most yeah, yeah.
you know, but here's the thing, she does that with her daughter.
Mhm,
How the hell this person who's giving insight and care to Colt on a regular basis, how much crap is she actually letting him get away with? The way
mhm,
he talked to her in those text messages and
mhm,
pulled that crap with her, and she
mhm,
just took it and was like,
mhm,
"I love you, talk to you later." I'm like,
mhm.
really, really, movie? Like,
Yeah.
this
I
is
mean,
this is where, I'm sorry, I have an old English mentality about this. I have an Irish nan. I would have
Mhm.
got boxed in my ears. Like, I don't know what, like, I would not have heard the end of that for at least a year. Like,
Yeah.
every time she would have thought about the way I talked to her, like 5 months ago, she would have clocked me in my ear.
Yeah.
Definitely. Just
Yeah.
walking by, she would have been like, yeah, this is for 6 months ago. Don't you ever do that again. Like, no way. No
Yeah.
way.
Well, it's interesting that she allowed her. It's one thing to allow your daughter, who's probably hopped up on whatever, because we know she's an alcoholic. She was doing drugs, whatever she tested positive for. We're not sure exactly what it was. So it's one thing to your adult daughter, who she may be stronger than mom. So I can understand. Maybe she's just like, all right, I'm not gonna start fighting with her because I may end up losing.
But she said
But
she
then it's your
understood.
14-year-old, your 13-year-old grandson. There's no way I would, yeah, I'd be
Yeah,
like,
and here's the thing, she's
son, you need to
contributing.
learn some
So
respect.
now we're hitting on the psychological end of all of this. Now we take the older, what would be considered more responsible person in a group because they're the elder. This is the
Mhm,
grandmother, right? So
mhm,
even in Colin's end, her influence there in how she's handling it is a big thing when it comes to how everybody else is handling it too.
mhm,
Okay.
mhm,
Because if she's not acting like it's a huge deal,
mhm,
why would Colin?
mhm,
Especially since he's got avoidance issues. He really doesn't want to do anything about it. It's hard for
mhm,
him to comprehend. He says repeatedly, I don't know what to do about this. I don't know what to do about this. Like this, like,
mhm.
right. So,
Yeah.
and then he's looking at an elder, okay,
Mhm,
and he seems to have respect for the woman in some spec, and
mhm.
how she's dealing with it. It just lends credence to why everybody's got their head in the sand.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's ostrich syndrome. Like they're all walking around with, we just don't want to admit that Colt is that kid.
Mhm. Yeah.
He's that kid. He's a problem.
He's a
Like,
problem
he's a
child.
problem.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I can understand Colin, his wife, mother of his three kids, is a disaster. She's a hot mess. She's
Hmm.
drinking, doing drugs. God knows what else she's doing. She may not even be home, or whatever when they were living together. So, and then he's got this kid who's clearly acting out. And he just wants to, yeah, he just wants to work. He's a superintendent at this construction
Yep.
site now, or construction company. Now, here's my other question: is how is he able to move all over the place and still maintain that superintendent position, unless they were, I guess they're all over the state of Georgia. They seem pretty big. They did seem pretty big. They've been around, I think,
Yeah.
since 31 or something like that.
Yeah. I
So
guess he could transfer, or like he just
yeah,
drives to wherever he's got to be. Like,
yeah, yeah. So
but the other thing about the grandma is like she's not going to be able to say much to Colin. Number one, she's the mother-in-law. Just, you're blessed if you have that kind of relationship with your in-laws. Like, it's just, I don't
mhm,
really think that he's gonna take too much of, like, I don't think she would push. Like you
mhm,
said, she's got an educator background. She's always looking for, like, why somebody's doing something, this and that. I think she made more excuses for everybody,
mhm,
in trying to understand what was going on. I don't think she
mhm,
put her foot down about a thing, not with her own
mhm.
daughter, not
No,
with Colt, not with Colin, no matter
yeah,
what she saw. I don't think she, you know,
yeah. And if
inserted herself.
agreed, and if you believe Colt, by telling Grandma that her three kids are, what he said, one was a meth addict, one,
He had no respect for her
yeah,
adult uh her ability to handle adult situations either. He was
yep,
practically, I mean, just threw it in her face. And here's the other thing. The fact that a 14-year-old boy knows all of this about
mhm,
everybody in the family, just think of the conversations, like that really threw me. Think of the
mhm,
conversations that are going on in front of these kids,
mhm, yeah,
and what they're learning about their father and their mother's relationship, their
mhm,
mother's failings, their father's lack of dealing with it, the
mhm.
grandmother and how she raised her kid. I mean, what are they hearing? Like, what is going on? Like, nobody is actually dealing with the fact that these are kids.
Mhm.
Like, it's almost like they're all just going about their lives and like doing the bare minimum of what they got to do.
Yeah.
You know, no- you
Do
know.
we know? I don't remember if I heard it. Do we know what Grandma did? I mean, she was a teacher and educator. Was it like? Did you hear what grade she taught or what subject? Did you catch that?
No, because it had apparently been quite a while.
Okay.
I didn't write that down.
It was like, yeah, 30 years ago or something like that, or even
Yeah,
longer.
like
Yeah.
she's well retired, and I'm like, well, okay, like I know, like that, I give you some credit that you've been in the system, then the system fails, and I can't believe you're just sitting on your butt going, I
Yeah.
understand. I understand where you're coming from. Like, yeah, things are upsetting. Like, we just
Yeah.
need things to chill. Like, no.
Hmm. So 43 years she was an educator, but I didn't catch what, I don't think she said what subject she taught or what, because I'm interested, like, did she teach like ninth or 10th grade? Because that's a very volatile, emotional, kids are all over the map at that age. Or did she teach second grade where she's just like, a grandmother even when she's in her 30s? You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying?
I mean, the only reason that Macy had custody in the beginning of the minor children with everything that was going on was because the grandparents were involved with helping take care of their kids. The grandparents on Macy's parents have been responsible for helping take care of those kids from the start,
Hmm.
actually. You
Yeah.
know, and it's just I don't know why she wasn't harder on Colt, knowing how she wasn't hard enough on her own daughter and
Hmm.
looking at the things there. I guess, as a parent, it's really hard, you know, to judge another parent,
Hmm.
also, you're like, hmm, I can
Hmm.
see where she's making the same mistakes with Colt that she made with her own daughter. But if
Hmm.
she doesn't admit her accountability to how her daughter has these lack of skills and how she's not holding her accountable,
Hmm.
um, then she's not going to do it with Colt either. If she's not there, she's not there.
Yeah.
And obviously, from what we saw on the stand, she's not there. If she could read those texts of what he said to
Hmm.
her, if she
Hmm.
was kind of calm, you could see it upset her. But
Hmm.
she's realizing, I think, wow. And I just said, yeah, I love you. Talk to you later. Like, yeah, I know you're upset, but yeah, it'll all blow over. Like,
Right.
you
She's
know,
trying to use love as a as a end all be all, and there's something to be said for that, but there's also something to be said for being a little bit more strict and being like, okay, love isn't going to whitewash this.
no,
Don't
right.
talk to me like that, that kind of
And,
thing.
and
Yeah.
I understand her need to make Colt feel supported and loved. Here's a
Hmm.
kid that's bouncing around and does not feel that no matter where he is. He's like, no, he's angry about everything. He
Hmm.
doesn't feel supported or loved in a way like everybody, like he feels persecuted. He feels like
Hmm.
his life stinks and it's everybody's fault. And he's
Yeah.
willing to point the fingers at everybody. And so I understand her need to make him feel loved and supported no matter what. But here's
Hmm.
the fine balance. You have to do that. Like, you know what? I used to tell my daughter all the time. And believe me, I'm one of those parents who I had a teenage daughter. We had a difficult relationship during those years from like say 14. I used to say to anybody that would listen, I wish there was an island that you could put teenage girls on until they hit 21 because that's when your relationship gets better again. Like, because
Hmm.
I'm one of those ones that my daughter and we had a difficult time as she was becoming a woman, and she's very challenging no matter, it's like if I said black, she said white,
Hmm.
up, down, you name it. She just couldn't
Right.
agree with you no matter what. Even when she knew you were right, she
Hmm.
could not like give in. It was horrible. But at the same
Right.
time, I love her and support her, but I would say to her all the time, I love you and I'll be here for you no matter what. But there
Hmm.
are times I don't like you, child. You're doing the wrong thing and you
Hmm.
have to be accountable for it. I had
Right.
no problem saying that, which is
Hmm.
probably why we had a little bit of a difficult relationship. But
Hmm.
would I do anything for her? Absolutely. Am I going to be there and back her 100%? But I'm not afraid to say, no, you made a wrong decision. And this is why you could have done the right thing. I
Hmm.
understand you did the wrong thing. And this is how you learn from it. These were the things that you could have taken into consideration. I had no problem calling her out, you
Right.
know,
Right.
you know. Um, I mean, I'm hoping there's other people that could relate as a parent to that. You can love your children to death, but you don't have to like them all the time. They
Of
do some
course.
messed up stuff,
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
that's, love the person but hate the crime or whatever it is. You still love, or in your case, not a
And
crime, but a bad
and
decision
then
or
and
whatever.
then being judged as a parent for everything that your children do. Like that's hard to
Mhm.
deal with. Like
Yeah.
because it is our fault, right? Like no matter what they do, it's gonna be our fault.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Colin too. He doesn't want
Yeah.
people nosing into his business because they're judging him as a parent.
Sure.
Like
Sure.
everything Colt does. Yeah.
Yeah. Miss Bree, that's a great question because I was wondering the same thing because Debbie, Mamu, what was her nickname? Mamu. Anyway,
Yeah,
Grandma,
Mamu. Yeah, yeah,
Mamu,
Mamu.
yeah,
Moo, like yeah, moo at the
yeah,
end is.
because she kept saying my husband was playing golf with our son, or my husband this, my husband that. So, Miss Bree, that's a good question. Was that husband the father of Marcy? Do we know?
I
Or
don't think so.
because she would have said her father, or she should have said Marcy's dad, but she kept saying my husband, right? So I thought that she was remarried. I didn't think that that was Marcy's father that she was talking about, but that was my impression.
Well, Charlie, that's the father, right? Charlie Paul Hamas. He's
Um,
publicly called, you know, called his
okay, I missed
grandson.
that. I missed that part.
Yeah.
As in,
So I don't know. Like there's statements
okay,
in articles. But and he's also been
she,
one of the ones that says that he thinks that
Marcy's father.
Colin
Okay.
um should have been more responsible and that he's the reason that he drove the boy to the shooting. Like he made him do it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So people are saying that Marcy did say, wait, she did say Marcy's dad a couple times. Okay. I didn't hear that part. All right. I missed some of
Yeah.
the
I
testimony.
I
Okay.
think that is because here if he's
Mhm.
actively he wants to make sure that Colin's family has nothing to do with the kids. Like
Mhm.
he's actively I saw an article where he was actively involved in making sure they stayed in Fitzgerald in
Mhm.
that they were with his Macy's side of the family. So
Mhm.
he also is like with the daughter, like, oh no, like absolutely ignoring the daughter's complicity in this whole thing. Anybody who thinks that, well, the daughter, that Macy, the mother, doesn't have a lot in the issues that Colt is having
Mhm.
mentally, and whether he's using them to his advantage or not, but the
Mhm.
instability there in the problems that Colt has with his mother's behavior and being like that. How does a child feel when you're old enough to know that your parent is choosing to do other things besides take care of you and do the right thing for you, when this
Mhm.
is the adult in your life that is supposed to be caring for you and
Mhm.
helping you grow and take care of you? You're supposed to be able to depend on them, and she's doing the things that she's doing, lying, manipulating. There's
Mhm.
accusations that Colt has made that his mother was quite abusive to him,
Mhm. Mhm.
physically
Yeah.
physically abusive to him.
Yeah.
And since she like duct taped her own mother, like I kind of leaning towards I would believe it.
I was thinking that too. If you could duct tape your own mom, what are you going to do to your kid when you're
Well, then,
drinking
then
or
you when you
whatever?
have a child that's as aggressive as Colt is, it's
Yeah.
not like Colt is quiet about
Mhm.
what's going on. Colt
Mhm.
is overreacting to everything. He's violent. He's reactionary. So he's pushing back too. I can imagine there was quite a few physical skirmishes between the mother and the son.
Mhm.
Um, and
Mhm.
heated arguments and awful things said. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that's what really gets me is the conversations that are going on in this household and the incidences. Like, we're only scratching the surface of what's really going on there. It is
Agreed.
horrible enough. It's
Mhm.
horrible. Like, just
Yeah.
yeah,
Lori, I said the same thing about, teaching martial arts, but that's not in
yeah.
Colin's
Like
vocabulary. That's just not what he
It
does,
it's not, and, like, even it's so common in that area, even the law enforcement officers or someone, "Yeah, teach him hunting." Like,
Mhm.
his father was so proud about him catching his first deer, and
Yeah, blood on his
apparently
cheek.
Colin was too, like, the
Yeah,
blood on the cheek, "It's my
yeah,
face screen now," and the
yeah,
cops encouraging him, going, "Yeah,
yeah,
like,
yeah. They took
yes,
a
get him
video
out
of
there in
it.
the outdoors,
Yeah,
get him, teach him all of these things. This is his step into manhood." It's just the culture there. Like
yep.
it's different here on the East Coast, not so much where I am. We're a little more like, no, there's no
Mhm.
guns in my household. We don't have a rifle. We don't hunt. Like it's a
Right,
it's a, s- a
right.
suburb. Like we don't do that. But
Yeah,
in other parts of our country, it's very prevalent as part of the. It's just part of normal day to day stuff.
sure,
It's
sure.
part of
There were
growing up in
I
that area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we heard gunshots earlier. People, they're not hunting because I don't think there's really
Mhm.
any hunting to do around here. But people, yeah, people do their target practice,
The
and
the law the law that needs to change is the ability that that Colin was able to gift the gun to Colt at his age, knowing there was problems with school, knowing people were talking that he needed counseling, that the process there of allowing Colin to be the final judgment on whether or not that 14-year-old could have a gun, I have an issue with. And I know that the gun lobbyists will be all on me saying you can't regulate that because of the Second Amendment. I'm like, yeah, we can, because it's part of being reasonable and responsible. If you know that there's a mental health issue right now, people can get a gun in almost any state unless there's documentation that they're a danger to everybody. And that means a commitment or somebody coming forward and saying there's serious mental health issues here. And it has to be historical. It can't be like it's going on right now. It has to be like, you have to prove them guilty. There can't be just like, well, there's something going on and we have to wait till it's resolved. No, it has to be like they're guilty, they're done, it's over with, and it has to be on the record, or you can't interfere with it. And I think that needs to change.
Yeah.
Oh, so do I, Todd. I'm right on the Jersey Shore. I spent my life in a town right next to Asbury Park. Born and raised, grew up there. I'm a little farther inland now. I'm in Central, in Freehold. But yeah, howdy, neighbor.
So a great point, and I thought the same thing. We don't know what he went hunting with. We don't know if he shot that deer with a 22, but it seems like it was probably an assault rifle. So I brought that comment up too. I'm like, who go after they showed the rifle and all that stuff? I'm like, that's not fair. That's not sporting. That's not, that's just destroying an animal, and then because don't you want to eat it? I mean, yeah, the whole trophy and the whole thing of
it's the whole thing. Like,
yeah, I mean,
I don't know. Like,
yeah. It's my brother hunted, he trapped, he hunted, his buddies did. So I grew up with that. We had weapons.
All my
But
life I thought I didn't want anything to do with guns. Like I thought like I never ever would. But now here in like 2026, I actually can see why people have a gun in their home for protection. I just want reasonable and responsible gun laws. I don't want to take people's guns away. I don't. Because I don't want to mess with the Constitution. I'm not doing it. Okay. And no, it's there for a reason. Okay. And bad stuff happens. I think they're dangerous. I think having one doesn't guarantee that bad things aren't going to happen. Having one actually contributes to the possibility of worse things happening in some cases. So I don't think it's a fix-all. But I am very disappointed with the state of our gun laws throughout our country. I don't mean to pick on you, Georgia. You just happen to be the one that's in my spotlight right now, but they could do better. And if this case doesn't make them do better, I don't know what will, because their own prosecutors trying to get justice are jumping through hoops and going backwards all over the place to try to get a simple case of, was he responsible or not, that should actually be just done with. Like, he should have been guilty from the start. He should have pled out. But it's the way that they have to charge him, the state's not protecting their own law enforcement or their school system or their citizens.
Right. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. Yeah. Protect your citizens. So we talked about this a little bit earlier, Miss Bree. The police needed probable cause. They couldn't just walk in there. They had to, I guess could they have asked and then, given consent? I guess, I mean, there's always
because it was rifles they were talking about. There was no law to back that up. Now, so Colin had said, like, I don't know, they would have needed permission to go into the house. Colin could give them verbal permission to go into the house.
That's what I'm asking. Could they say, hey, could we come and just check it out?
There's no law to actually infer that they should check because it's a rifle.
Yeah.
I think they should have did better. I do. But they didn't have a law to back them up because it was a rifle. Yes, there are strict laws in Georgia about handguns and other guns, about locking them up, when there's a minor in the house, the ammunition has to be safe. The guns have to be locked up, unloaded. Ammunition has to be separate when there's a minor in the house. But it doesn't apply to long guns. And like
Hmm.
you say, the long guns are all over the house, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, there's
Two, well, at
no.
least two were in his closet. Two were in his closet. I guess there was a
Yeah,
handgun in Colin's. Two were in Colt's closet. There was a handgun in Colin's in
was
Colin's
it
truck.
unsecured? Oh, in his truck.
In his truck. I don't know. I don't know how secured
Okay.
it was. They just said that they found a handgun in his truck. I don't know how many other weapons he had, but at least two. I'm just going by those photos from.
I think he's allowed to have the handgun if it's registered for carry. I mean, in New Jersey, he would, but in
Hmm.
Jersey, I do remember reading something about in vehicles. Something in Georgia law did change about guns in vehicles recently.
Hmm.
Um,
So you're
they,
not allowed to have them,
yeah,
or
yeah,
you're not allowed to have.
they
Go ahead.
did he deny them access? Are you talking about 2023, Pammy? Because, like,
Yeah,
he
we're talking
did
about
actually,
The FBI
yeah.
tip and the Discord thing. Like at that point, because he says, "Do you have weapons?" And Colin's like, "Yeah, we do. Can we come in and see?" I mean, are you allowed to ask that? I don't know.
I think you can. I don't think asking is the problem. Going
Mhm.
in without a warrant, if he says no, is a problem. But
Yeah, yeah, of course. No,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's like, well, they have to have probable cause if they pull you over to search your vehicle.
because here's the
Mhm.
thing: even in the 2023, people keep referring to the fact that they told him to lock up the weapons. I don't hear them say that at all in that interview. Did anybody else actually hear them? Am I missing something? Because they never said it.
I'd have to listen to that for specifically. But Pammy's saying the prior visit, so it's that visit, the
Yeah,
Discord,
I
the
would wanna
FBI
hear
tip.
that. I need to hear them asking to come
Mhm,
in because I didn't hear that, and I could have
mhm.
missed it, Pammy. I'm not doubting you because you're pretty attentive to the details yourself, and this was overwhelming everywhere, like this
Right,
testimony.
right.
Um, but, I keep playing that interview because they keep throwing it up to us and
Mhm,
saying stuff, I noticed that his words keep getting quoted a certain way, and they're leaving out the first part of it and the last part of it, and
mhm,
I'm trying to piece it all together. Not that I think Colin fighting this without taking some kind of reasonable deal with the prosecution is absurd.
mhm.
Um,
I do remember them asking if they were locked up. I don't remember
Yeah, and I think he said they were, and he might
they
be
were.
talking like but they
Yeah,
didn't check. Yeah,
yeah,
that
yeah.
I did hear. Surely I heard that. They
Okay,
they they did ask if you have got the are they locked up, and he said, yeah, we lock them up. The ammunition is separate,
yeah.
whatever.
And that was
Yeah.
proved that the false. Well, at least maybe then it was true, but then the day of then when the police walked through the house, it was there was ammo all over. There was
Mhm.
the two guns in the top closet. Yeah, just
Yeah.
so he was either telling the truth then, and then he went against that, or he was lying then when law enforcement showed up for the Discord tip. Let me see. Just going through my notes. We can get to some questions if you want.
Oh, absolutely, because
Let's see. Oh, what did
I
you think of the video that they made and his path and all that stuff? Did you think that was helpful for the jury? Because now they didn't have to go to the school and see where it was. They
well,
you know
I'll tell you what, if this trial was about whether or not Colt did it, it's slam dunk. Absolutely.
yeah,
But what did that have to do with Colin?
Colin's responsibility. Yeah, it had nothing to do with it. It was just to show. It, it was to show the
It's
scene.
emotional
Yeah,
manipulation of the jury, in my
yeah,
opinion. But
yeah.
hey, I don't blame the prosecution. They got a big hill to climb with this
Hmm.
child cruelty thing. So they need to actually show the cruelty. They need to show what
Hmm.
happened. I get that. I get that. But man, I don't know how a jury gets past that to the
Yeah.
actual legal issues here. And that's my concern. Can they?
That's yeah. Well, we'll see. They're gonna arrest. They said Wednesday or Thursday. They have nine more witnesses, so
I
they're
mean, honestly,
they're closing in.
I would ask you, and I would ask the chat and anybody listening later, could
Mhm.
you, sitting on the jury, get past the emotional impact of this case and look at the legal issue here of whether or not Colin actually broke a law?
I think I
We
could.
all know he's guilty of lack of judgment. We all
Yeah,
know we wish he did better. But
yeah.
did he actually break a law? And can the jury get to that point with everything they've heard and seen so far about the shooting?
I
That's
would
my
have.
concern.
I want the verdict form. I want to hear the jury instructions and the verdict form and how it's actually posed to them, because I went into this trial thinking, "Oh my God, there's no way that he's guilty. Come on, you can't hold him."
Yeah, you can't hold them guilty for it. Like
And then
because
after the opening statements, I'm like, "Oh my God, lock him up and throw away the key."
well,
So
I knew if they were gonna charge him this way that they
yeah.
had to have some really good evidence proving he ignored stuff, because that's all
Mhm.
that's the law there on whether he actually willfully ignored what was going on. And
It
that
seems
would
like
be breaking the law. That would be the
yeah,
cruelty and the neglect. Okay.
yeah.
Definitely. That would be the law he broke. And that's the one they have to prove he did. Not
Mhm,
whether the gun was locked up, not whether he bought him a Christmas present, not any of that.
mhm,
Okay. The access is not the criminal law that was broken, because Georgia failed there.
mhm,
Okay. The law that's broken is whether or not he should have done better in regards to cruelty to Colt and the children involved, put them at risk, willfully ignoring all of the signs. And from the testimony of what people have said and
mhm,
shown, and what has been documented, like by text messages back and forth, by
mhm,
emails, by the school, by family services, it
mhm,
does look that last year, something happened during that last year. Colin is definitely just not following through on anything.
mhm,
They're reaching out and he's not
mhm,
responding. Contrary to what he said in 2023, that the prior school knew him so well. Like, go
mhm,
over there and ask.
mhm,
Unless he's just an adamant liar and would just say that knowing it couldn't be proved. And I don't know if I would go that far. I mean,
mhm,
he must have had a lot of contact with the previous school for 6th and 7th grade,
mm.
you know?
He says he did, but it came out that they were reaching out to him about the truancy in 7th grade, and he was, or was it 8th
No,
grade? I guess it was
no,
8th grade.
8th grade was the truancy because he
Yeah,
started
right.
no, the 9th grade, he starts the new school and he shows up, what, out of a whole month, like 5 days
Mhm.
or whatever, like, that's
Well,
it, like, he's out, 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 like,
yeah,
'cause the
yeah,
school starts in August in Georgia.
right.
Yeah.
Or was it even July? I know they start, yeah, they don't start at traditional for us. I mean, I grew up going to school
Yeah.
right after Labor Day.
I remember seeing the calendar for August with all the X's on it that he wasn't
Right,
in,
right,
and he
right.
was
Yeah, I
like
did take
there.
a screenshot.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, you're
yeah.
right.
And
He
that's the start of 9th grade. That's
yeah.
the start. That's the month before the incident,
Yes. Yeah.
you know.
So we had a question from AWOL podcast that I wanted to make sure that I asked you. He's saying, why not ask all the caseworkers if they spotted the red flag? So from a defense standpoint, because we had 3 or 4 caseworkers get up, and as a defense attorney, you would think Mr. Barry would have asked, so where are the red flags? Did you guys see red flags? So is that something that you think the defense could have asked, should have asked? Why didn't
I
they?
I've I've been a bit disappointed in what the defense is asking.
Hmm.
Like, I think they could push harder on people, but I think there's a general respect for what limitations they did have.
Hmm.
I'm sure there was plenty of questions that I wanted to ask. I don't know about you, of many of the family service people in general.
Hmm.
Because they were the ones in contact, I think, the most. Um,
Hmm.
and I don't hear them. They say that they asked about guns a lot, but I don't hear many inspections, anybody talking about how things were stored,
Hmm.
or how they felt about Colin having Colt hunt or anything, or
Hmm.
whether they even knew that they gave him a gun.
Hmm.
Okay, so because when he bought that gun at the end of 2023 for Christmas, bought it in
Hmm.
November,
Hmm.
there was plenty of family service people that have been in contact for the whole rest of that year before the incident in September.
Hmm.
Did
Yeah.
I miss it, or did anybody mention the purchase of the gun and them actually talking to the father about it and his plans for how he was training him or what was going on
With
or
the
the status
caseworker?
of this? Nope.
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
Nobody approached it,
Yeah.
okay? So
Mhm.
they don't know about it either, and I think
Mhm.
that's why the defense is like, "Well, if you don't know about it, like, in the father like, how would you know about it?" There's no
Mhm.
mandatory reporting of gift giving to minors and stuff like that. There's like he
Mhm.
registers it the way he has to register, and that's it. There's no red flag.
Mhm.
There's no red flag to come up for the
Right.
purchase of that gun.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, and that's a problem. That's
Mhm.
where I'm this is where I my skin starts to get all like, I can't stand this case because I keep running up to the insufficiencies in the law everywhere in regards to this case. It is very, very frustrating
Mhm.
because, in my opinion, the state of Georgia is the silent co-contributor to this disaster.
Mhm.
It's the one behind the scenes. And they're not doing anything about it, and they should be on trial too, in my humble opinion, not just
Mhm.
Colin Gray. The state of Georgia itself
Mhm.
needs to do something, and they've had a few years, and they're not doing anything, and it's very frustrating to see. This man will probably go away to jail for life, and the
Mhm.
laws aren't gonna change, and I think that's wrong. Somebody needs
Yeah.
to step up. Yeah.
Right. Aussie, to answer your question, it was he was in fourth grade. So he was in fourth grade. So fifth grade, Colt went to school mostly virtual, and then sixth grade, that's when he searches for the abuse. September 19th of 2021. So he was in fourth grade.
Right, and so we've had it is around the time that is the timeline of the virus, and they probably had a lot of exposure to his parents, and
Mhm.
probably Googled a lot of horrible things, to be
Mhm.
honest.
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't mean to make light of it, but this kid, man, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right. Let's get to some questions because we got some good ones here. Let's see. All right.
Mhm.
Todd, your fellow Jerseyan, New
Yeah.
Jerseyan. Here's a question: shouldn't the school be responsible since the child asked, "Do you have active shooter school shooting drills?" Sometimes in that school should put Colin in one classroom with one teacher. So yeah, so Colin asked. That was the first grade teacher. That was the computer science teacher, Suzanne Harris, and he says, "Hey, do you guys have active shooter drills?" Um, but what is Todd asking? Should have put Colin in one classroom with one teacher. Um,
Maybe
should
he
the
means
school be held
both.
responsible for that? Well, the
Well,
school.
first of all, I don't think you can blame Colin. If Colin's the one that asked that as the parent, in
Mhm.
this day and age, with what's going on here in the United States, that's not an absurd question,
No, it
is
was
it?
Colt. I'm sorry. Colt asked the question. Colt asked the question.
Colt, a
Okay.
Colt should have been put on a red flag there.
Yeah. So is
No, but then again, no, that's no. I'm letting my judgment be blurred here by what happened
mhm,
because actually, knowing what's going on in the United States, knowing how kids feel going to
mhm,
school and it's no longer safe. What child going to a new school with any semblance of what's going on in America not want to know that?
mhm.
How do you feel safe in school anymore as a teenager? What
I,
teenager does actually feel safe knowing what goes on
I
in the
know.
United States day after day?
Yeah.
I think any child with any semblance of any of it, that doesn't mean he was obsessed or going to do anything.
Mhm,
Any of those girls that were shot, any of those children that testified on day 2 could have
mhm,
asked the same question. And when they
mhm,
go to a new school, they damn well will, won't they?
mhm. Yeah.
And so like I don't think he can be judged for that question.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, and he's new. He was the new kid, right?
Yeah, they don't even know he's got a gun at home or the Parkland shooter on his wall. He
Right.
hasn't talked to enough kids to get a reputation as the weird one, as the
Mm-hmm.
kid that might be the next shooter. Like, because believe me, kids are vigilant now. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
start acting weird, like they start getting away from you, they start reporting on you. Nobody wants to be the next victim in a school shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Agreed.
a shame that our children have to feel like that in school, but they
Mm-hmm.
do. And
Yep.
that's the situation we're in America, and it's
Yep.
sad.
Yeah. Miss Bree, why was the DFS worker only meeting with Colin and not with Colt as well? Um, Is that 100% accurate? Did they actually they
I think they did talk
did
to
they
Colt, but
remove?
the reason they focus on Colin is he's the one that's responsible for complying and taking care of the child, and he would be the one charged with neglect, and he would be the defining factor on whether the child gets removed, on
Right.
whether he's capable or not. Um,
So she did know Michaela did speak to both. April 12th, 2023, that was her second visit. It says she did speak to Colin and Colt. And this is
mhm.
when Colt said, "My son's doing fine. Colt is shy, doing well at school. Colin has a good relationship with Colt's teachers, blah, blah, blah." Didn't mention Colt getting bullied. So she did. So there was at least the one. Michaela did. And then Tamika was the next one. She was a case manager. Um, I don't think Colt was bad. Yeah, I don't think she spoke to Colt. And then the other one was Corinne Pierre Charles. She was a CPS investigator. Yeah, I think it was only the one. I think it was only the
Yeah,
one that actually spoke, and it was just one time. I think it was just one
and
time. Yeah.
and it's actually, I think that, based on age and everything like that, what kind of information are you going to get from a child? You're only going to get when you think there's actually a problem. You're going to
Mhm.
start with the parent first. And if the
Yeah.
parent's not giving you the answers, then you're going to talk to the child to see what they say about things that are going on in the home.
Mhm.
Um, but remember, it's really hard to talk to any minor without the presence of a guardian or a legal representative.
Mhm.
Yeah, and don't forget,
Mhm.
DIFUS is, family services is
Mhm.
someone that can actually charge you with things and put in complaints, so they've gotta follow the law too.
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
only they have to be careful when they talk to children outside of situations, although they're allowed to,
Mhm.
absolutely. But
Right.
I think that they're a little cautious about when they do. You gotta
Yeah.
kinda think ahead to when you're gonna be on trial.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
I
You
applaud
know
them because they go into these situations you don't know, and you're knocking on the door. You don't know if you're going to be greeted with a gun in your
and
face. You know.
And honestly, they're overworked, they don't have enough funding, there's not enough of them. We
Yeah.
hear about kids falling through the tracks all the t or the cracks all the
That's,
time, and we
yeah.
wanna blame the system. Well, the system isn't funded, it's our fault too. We wanna complain about, like, "Well, where's all the money going and what do we do?" We have to
Mhm.
push hard enough that they do get compensated well. There are more people on staff, more
Mhm.
highly educated therapists and stuff that can actually recognize things more often,
Mhm.
training, the ability to go, and laws that protect them and allow them to do certain things. Remember, they have to act within the confines of pretty strict laws too.
Right. Sure.
So
Sure.
even though they think something's terribly wrong, their hands may be tied. There's only so much that they can do without legal backing, or else they're at risk for
Mhm.
being tried for crimes. That's a good question. Who prescribed the Zoloft and where's the doctor? But
Mhm.
let's be clear. The doctor is not responsible for Macy Gray giving that drug to anyone but herself.
Mhm.
She's the criminal there. That's a criminal offense. And why she's not being charged for actual cruelty and neglect to that child and
Mhm.
actually abuse to that child,
Mhm.
giving him a medication, I don't know. But then again, she's actually working for the prosecution. She didn't buy the gun.
Mhm.
Prosecution's looking at what case can I actually build. They know they got Macy slam dunk as being
Mhm.
an awful parent. But
Yeah.
that's not what the charge is here.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, a lot of
yes.
people are asking why isn't she being held accountable? Because she
Right now,
she
she's serving 5 years of a mandatory probation for offenses and the thing with her mom and everything.
Mhm.
And she's not allowed contact with the children and everything like that. I
Mhm.
think that they strong armed her about discharge to get her to testify in this trial
Mhm.
because she's going to look bad. She's going to I can't think that I don't think she's willingly here, number 1.
Right.
I don't think she's willingly gonna say a word. No matter what she says, she looks awful.
Mhm.
She's gonna have to face some horrible she's gonna look horrible. No matter what
Terrible.
she says or what she does, she's not there willingly. They
Yeah.
definitely negotiated those charges down to get her to testify.
Right.
Absolutely.
I
That was
think
a
so
deal.
too. Yeah. Yeah. You heard, I think the state said an hour, hour and a half, and the defense said 3 hours on cross. So, or Marcy's going to be, she's going to be in the hot seat for sure.
We're going to hear what that family life was really like, and it's going to be horrible. And
Yeah.
it's really not going to help Colin because he still contributed to how horrible the relationship is.
Hmm.
Like because he didn't leave early enough or he didn't do anything. How
Hmm.
he could not know his rent's getting paid by his wife to eviction. That doesn't happen in a month.
Hmm.
Okay. You have
Yeah.
to not pay it for quite a while.
Like two or
Okay.
3 months even. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the mail comes and I could see her tearing up the mail and the notices and
Hmm.
not letting the phone calls go through. I could see all of that. But
Hmm.
not looking at your bank statement every month, like not
Hmm.
looking at come on. Like
Yeah.
he's a little irresponsible here too.
Yeah. We, when we rented, in South Florida, we were friends with the owner of the house, and he said before we got there, and he had owned properties all around, all in South Florida, whatever. He says it's really really hard to evict somebody. He says it's really hard to evict somebody. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't really ask him any further, but he says it's really hard to evict somebody. So, all right. I think, did we answer this one, Barry? Do we know if Colin's parents are around?
There's
Um,
no mention in anything that I can find about Colin's parents. I have
mhm,
searched and Googled and I
mhm,
don't even know if they're alive. I know
mhm,
they're not uh in the children's lives at all. I
mhm,
don't see any statements of Colin mentioning them at all,
mhm,
ever, about visiting, about anything, in anything that I have dug up.
mhm.
I can't find anything on them.
Yeah,
But if his childhood was rough too, as some have, kind of nodded to, then perhaps he's estranged.
yeah. I only
Or
heard that once. I only heard that one time. It's the one and only time we heard that. So, Linda, was Colin ever arrested for for doing bad things to his children? Not that we heard of. Have you heard of
no,
anything?
the
Yeah.
only domestic violence charges were against Macy in all of
Hmm.
the altercations with Colin. She was the volatile one,
Hmm.
and actually Colt came and lived with him, and then he
Hmm.
got custody of the children.
Hmm.
Um which I'm surprised the grandmother didn't, but that just means that the system also knows the grandmother is making excuses
Hmm.
because the children were more familiar with the grandmother, like, getting them ready for school and stuff like that. She was
Hmm.
actually taking care of them with Macy there. Um, and so they did not give her custody. They gave it to Colin, first off,
Hmm.
so, and he's working full time. So for them to make that move, um, knowing that the grandmother was at least home all day, you know,
Hmm. Right. Todd is in Point Beach. Do you know where Point Beach is?
Point Beach, I know where Point Pleasant is, but I don't know where Point Beach, but I can look it up. It sounds like it's south. Is it like, it depends on what county, like, because I'm in central, I'm in Monmouth County.
Hmm.
The Jersey, you see this when you say you're from the Jersey Shore in Jersey,
Hmm.
our shore goes top to bottom. It goes the whole length of the state and then
Hmm.
around again. So,
Yeah.
like, the Jersey Shore is like the whole state. It's just like the east part of the state, like all the way up. There's
Right.
beach
Right.
from one end to the other, which is lovely.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It's cool. Peach Pie, what law do you feel is needed? 14-year-olds can't hunt, access, curious. Peach Pie's on the
no,
fence.
I just want that accessibility law changed to include long rifles when there are minors in the home. I
Hmm.
think the responsible adult needs to be the one to unlock that gun and give out the ammunition. That's
Hmm.
the only thing I think I'm asking for. I realize that children hunt. I realize that they can actually be given guns as gift, but I still think that the adult in that house is responsible to keep it locked up, to keep the ammunition safe, to keep it locked up unloaded, to
Hmm.
prevent things like this happening. We're not talking about adult, but a 14-year-old. I don't care if they could shoot straight and hit a deer, and they got every right to, but they
Hmm.
are not of mental maturity to handle emotions like what was going on in Colt's life and
Hmm.
not actually have something bad happen with access to a firearm.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I agree. That shocks me that's not a law. That
It's the loophole in the law.
yeah. Yeah.
Georgia does have laws that in guns that are in homes with minors have
Hmm.
to be locked up, have
Hmm.
to be stored on without ammunition, and the ammunition has to be set. That's a
Hmm.
law in Georgia
Hmm.
for guns except long guns and rifles. Like
Hmm.
it's only about the handguns. There are absolutely criminal charges against anybody who hands a handgun to a minor and
Hmm.
something happens.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And there are actually about handguns laws about if you know there's a mental thing going on,
Hmm.
you're going to be held you could be held criminally responsible for anything that they do.
Hmm.
Now those are all except rifles. Now explain that to me.
Yeah,
Like,
that doesn't make sense. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. That does not make sense to me. I mean, they do the same damage. That makes no sense. I don't understand that.
no, nothing. No, the handguns are required to be locked up. Is in Georgia. Like I don't understand the
Right, but
question
then why
there.
not the rifle? They can do the same amount of damage. I don't understand that.
Yeah, like someone in the chat was just saying, but you don't have to lock up handguns. Yes, in Georgia, I just read that they do when a minor is in the house.
Hmm.
Not if it's just with no minors. I think that's a little looser.
Hmm.
I do. I actually.
Maybe they think a handgun can be more concealed, like a kid could take it and then stick it in their waist or something, or in their jacket or whatever. Whereas a rifle, it's a little bit harder to conceal. Maybe I
Mhm.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That I'd like to talk to a congressperson about that, and be like, what's up with that in Georgia?
I think it's got to do with hunting. I think it has to do with the norm of the culture. I think, like just banking on like,
Yeah, but if you're
you
gonna if
know,
you're gonna if you're gonna have responsibility taught for handguns, have that transfer over to the hunting rifle too, or right?
because there are plenty of boys growing up from the ages of like 12 and up, and girls too, that in that culture, they're learning how to use guns. They attend rifle club. They do all of this other stuff. It's just it's part of the gun culture, I
Mhm.
think, and I don't know why it would be lobbied against, but it obviously had to be lobbied against for them to not
Yeah,
include it.
to not
And
include it. Yeah.
here's the thing. Sometimes legislation doesn't make sense. Like,
Hmm.
and I'm going to use something that has nothing to do with guns to prove that point.
Hmm.
In the Me Too movement, when we had the congressional hearings and they came forward and they changed all the laws in
Hmm.
regards to how long DNA was kept, and victims' rights and mandatory interviews and all of this other stuff, and
Hmm.
extending the statutory stuff like that.
Hmm.
The administration, the federal government came through and made these laws solid. And you know what they called it? Like Women and Children's Act. What about the men who were violated in
Hmm.
abuse in domestic violence? Like, what about them? We actually called it an act for protection of women and children,
Hmm.
totally negating half of the population in the United States.
Hmm.
As if the law, now it's in legislation and it's a law. Does it not appear that it only applies to a woman? That a
Hmm.
man doesn't have the same rights under that law? It's really weird that they
Hmm.
do stuff like that, but words matter. And
Yeah.
so if they say the word handgun in a law and not the rest of them, well, there you go.
Hmm.
This is how
Yeah.
it like I don't know why more consideration is just like they think they're doing a good thing. They had all good intention of doing a good thing to keep the guns out of children's hands,
Hmm. Yeah.
and prevent accidents from happening, but for some reason they either lobbied against rifles or it's just a complete bad wording oversight, but they
Hmm.
know it. And they know it because of cases like this, and they're not changing it. And that's what bothers me.
Hmm. Yeah. I agree. I agree. Wait, is Jane's maybe gonna go? Let's see. Jane's gonna try and go. All right, Jane. We may get somebody, a courtroom insider.
Mm. If you do, I really want to see how invested the jury is at this point.
Yeah, of
Yes,
course. Of
because
course.
that insight, like not being able to see how they're reacting to things. I
Mhm.
mean, that's been my big question. How do they get past day 2? Like,
Mhm.
how does that now cloud all of the issues? Because, in fairness to Colin, he deserves a fair trial, right? Like, he
Mhm.
should be judged on the law and not emotion,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, of course.
No one wanted this shooting. Everybody thinks this is horrible. Like, nobody is gonna condone what happened. Like,
Mhm.
it's so how do you get past that, you
Mhm.
know?
Barry, that's interesting. You think handgun versus the long
Does it?
is
Yeah.
racially, yeah, yeah. It could be. Yeah, you could be right. Could be right. So, let's see what else. All right. Those are the questions that we have so far. I don't see any more, but I'm comfortable with wrapping it up soon. What do you think? Do you want to talk about anything else
No,
before we
no,
wind
I'm
down?
good. I mean, I like that I see how balanced the chat is. Like, they recognize the emotional pull of all of the
Mhm.
testimony, but also they're being very, very focused also on some of the legal issues that are here in this case. I mean, like, some of them are like spot on. It's all
Mhm.
about whether Colin willfully ignored the information. That's what the prosecution has to prove. And
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
that's the only main point that I wanted to make. When you get down to the law of this case, that's what they have to prove. Not
Mhm.
that the shooting happened, not who did it, you know, not that Colt is a troubled child, but
Mhm.
whether or not the the adult in his life that they're pinning this on as to all the responsibility,
Mhm.
whether he willfully ignored things when he bought that gun and didn't control access to it.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, I'm really interested to see what Marcy has to say for sure next week, and then they have 9 more witnesses. So I'm trying to think. We've heard from,
I think Marcy's sister, maybe, because she's very active
yeah,
in registering the children. It
yeah,
seems to be somebody with some calm, like,
yeah.
the adult in the room.
Annie
She's
is
just,
on. Sorry,
yeah.
as we say, Annie is on the witness list. That's her sister. Um, I really want to hear more about these texts in the computer search because they had these digital forensic guys come in, 2 of them, and they said they extracted cell phones, they looked at iPads and computers, but then they didn't really say on such and such a date at such and such a time, this is
No,
what was
but they
checked, you
they
know?
have been admitting text. In order to admit any text message information, they had to do that. But we just saw text messages for the grandmother, and we've
Mhm,
heard of messages between Colin and Colt. And I guess
mhm,
we'll have to see. Like, you have to have the person involved
mhm.
on there, or you have to have the analysts that looked at everything.
Yeah, well, we've had
Read
2.
them.
We had 2 digital forensic guys. That's what I'm saying. We had
Well,
2 and
extracting isn't analyzing.
right,
Neither
so
of
the
those
DNA and
people
stuff.
said
Yeah.
that they analyzed the information. They said they extracted the phone.
Right, right. Yeah, so that to me, I wanna hear that because we heard about that in opening
And in
statements. We've
and
heard
in
about that.
other cases, the people that read the text messages are the detectives and the investigators who
Mhm,
do the analysis of the information that's extracted,
mhm.
the actual text messages and
Yeah.
emails.
So that's
Like
still,
like in Karen Reed's case, right?
mhm,
The
mhm,
guy who extracted the phone was
mhm.
not the one reading the messages. It was the detective that looked at all of the information and thought it was something. And
Right,
he got to read the messages out loud, even though
right.
he wasn't a party of the text messages. It was not that a legal battle just to get that to happen.
Mhm.
It would be the same thing here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that to me is one of the few things left, right? Because I feel like we've heard from pretty much everybody, right?
Yeah.
Who else are
Well,
you thinking is out there still?
well, I don't know about the prosecution case, but I'm
Mhm.
really interested in whether Colin's going to take the stand to defend himself
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
on just pleading with the jury. Hey, if you were
Mhm,
in this position, like, I think I'm actually thinking it would be a good move, but I don't know if
mhm,
the defense is going to go there,
mhm,
because the only one who can say, look, this is the situation. Yes, it was horrible, and I did the best. I never would have thought my son would do this. If I thought for a minute he would have did this, and then that's just pleading with them emotionally, just to get the emotional balance to even out a little bit between all of
Mhm.
the victims testifying on the second day, and
Mhm.
all the crime itself being there so emotional, what
Mhm.
happened, just to give it a little more balance that, hey, I never would have, even though it was right there, like there was always a reasonable reason. I wanted to believe that he was doing better. He was doing better. We were having dinners together. We talked every night. Like,
Mhm.
I want to hear his perspective on it. And that
Yeah.
might be a little selfish, but I think it's a shot to try to get the jury emotionally involved with him, because right now they're just emotionally involved with the actual event,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
He took the stand at his bond hearing. So we did hear from him then. Um, so we'll see. We'll see if he does. I personally, I hope he does too. It's like Corey Canaro. It's like we want him to take the stand.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have been, in that case, it wouldn't have been help either side actually
Hmm.
at all. It probably
Yeah.
would have hurt both. But I actually think it might help him a little bit. You
Hmm.
know, it depends. I mean, they could judge him too harshly too. What are
Yeah.
my thoughts about the pictures shine on the wall in the bedroom? Like, I'm of two minds of it. Like, I've had an outrageous brother who used to do crazy stuff. He was involved with, like, all kinds, like putting up posters that would drive my mother crazy, like,
Hmm.
and like with Marilyn Manson and stuff like that, and stuff that he doesn't really believe in as a person, but like
Hmm.
he would put occult stuff around to drive her crazy, so she would like try to get a priest to visit the house and talk to him, like, and he was just a brat.
Yeah.
He just loved torturing her. He didn't believe, and being his sister, I knew he didn't believe in any of this stuff, but
Hmm.
I wanna look at it like that, but then again, it's a school shooting,
Hmm.
you know? And for all of us as an adults, a school shooting, this is like, no, you don't mess with that. But
Hmm.
isn't that what teenagers do? They take the thing that's inappropriate and throw it in your face because it's like what they do.
Right.
Like,
Well, did your
yeah.
brother have access to firearms?
No.
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
So
No, he didn't.
that's going to
You
be
know?
that, right?
But we didn't live in Georgia either.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm just saying, like, is it unusual for a teenage boy to take the most inappropriate thing and put it in your face all the time because
Mhm.
they're challenging, they're doing this, they're just like they take the oddest, weirdest stuff, like, you know,
Mhm.
there's so many things I can refer to it even online when people
Mhm.
get into these discussions and all, and they want to feel like, like an edge lord or whatever. They're always taking that opposite position and like, it's kind of like the person, and I'm going to say something here, but it is the statement that kind of puts the context on it.
Mhm.
It's kind of like when that kid enters the group chat or that young adult, like, and we're talking about younger people here, like not fully formed adults who know better, but
Mhm.
that 14-year-old enters the chat and says like, well, what actually did the Nazis do wrong anyway?
Mhm. Mhm.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, to us, that's like, what? How could you
Right.
even how could you even think or say anything like that?
Right.
Or like,
Well, there's a
it's
difference between genuinely wanting to have knowledge and seeking knowledge and figuring things out at a particular age. But then there's another, I don't even think it's a fine line of like enshrining somebody who killed 17 people and wounded 17 more
yeah,
without the parent asking. I think
yeah,
that's where I draw the
absolutely.
line.
I
I think
think the
if
parent needed to ask more questions,
yeah, just like
absolutely.
what's up
I
with
I
that?
don't
Yeah.
I don't think it's that odd that kids get a fascination with very it's part of their figuring it out,
Yeah.
idolizing the wrong people,
Mhm.
the ones that did all of these horrible things. I mean, come on, like we it's kind of like asking, why do women marry serial killers in jail?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, come on, like, what's wrong?
Fascination with
Like,
yeah, with the
yeah,
bad
it's like,
boy, right? The
all
bad
right,
boy and all that. Yeah.
whether we all want to believe it or not, there's a reason. The devil comes knocking, right? The
Mhm.
dark side is attractive, it's enticing. We don't know enough about it. Everybody leans a little bit like, oh, when you
Mhm.
see it. Not
Sure.
everybody jumps in with 2 feet and lives that life, but
Mhm. Hmm.
Is it something that is always dangling out there that, like, and for teenagers, girls
Hmm.
or boys, like, I don't want to say it's just young men,
Hmm.
it's enticing, and it's not that unusual for them to dabble in the outrageous statements, the outrageous idolization of things that to us are like completely inappropriate. Like, we know better.
Right.
They don't. They actually don't. They're figuring it out, and at the same time where they're challenging the adults in their life, and in Colt's case, he's got no real foundation for a solid adult in his life
Hmm.
that would make that the most inappropriate thing, does
Hmm.
he?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with both. Jenny idolizing school is, yep, is not okay. And then peach pie, yep, it's a red flag. I agree. At least to the point of like just saying, well, what are you doing a school paper? What's going on here? I
I
think,
mean, you can akin it to all of my research is for my whole life on serial killers and stuff. That's a fascination, and I'm sure my mother worried about that. You
mm-hmm.
know, it's
Yeah,
like, but not as a teenager. Like, I didn't do that as a teenager.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I look back and as a child, as a young child, I was fascinated with World War II, and I would absorb
Right.
as much knowledge as I could.
Mhm.
Um, you know, was that considered healthy or unhealthy? I don't know. I mean, I wasn't idolizing Hitler. I wasn't a part of that. I was more just a part
Mhm.
of, I was just fascinated with
Like,
the
it just
technology of it,
depends.
you know?
It depends on the adults in your life, and
Yeah.
in the circles that you're going in and everything, but remember that, like, in this day and age, the times that Colt is growing up in with
Hmm.
online and exposure, he's got, I mean, first of all, Discord, he can be in any group he wants of
Hmm.
unregulated kids having conversations that are completely outrageous
Yeah.
with no adult supervision. And things get accepted and they go forward and they're trying to show off and all of this other,
Well, how do we
his
even know they were
fascination.
kids? How do we know they were kids? It could have been adults in there too, right? It's not
Though
age,
that's true too.
right?
That is also, that's another big issue with it. But
Yeah.
the times are different than us as adults right now. Like, growing
Hmm.
up right now, I can't even imagine what it's like to be a young adult or a teenager in today's
Hmm.
mindset with online, in the violence that we have in America, and the things, the volatile situations that are going on all over our country, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Fascinated with
It
history of
is.
true crime. Yeah, it'd be like
It,
Ted Bundy or something. Oh, I'm fat,
yeah,
especially as a
no,
14-year-old, you know.
and there were people that were obsessed with Ted Bundy. Like,
Yeah.
yes, it's a high school shooter, but because what I'm trying to say
Or
is,
The Mansons too, or something. Yeah.
because of how it is now in our country, with the amount of shootings that happen, and
Hmm.
these mass shootings that are happening on an almost daily basis all over our country, why wouldn't it be a school shooter is my
Hmm.
thing. Like,
That's
we're
true.
focusing on it like it's such a hard, like, but for a kid growing up that sees it all the time, it's in the news every day.
That's
Every
true.
day. Why would
That's
why
true.
wouldn't he? It's the
Yeah.
same as us being fascinated with the things that were the racial divide, or
Hmm.
the riots that happened when I was younger. Like,
Yeah.
it would be the same thing.
Or
Okay.
Serial Killer Son of Sam was huge, for me growing up. I wasn't
Right.
making a
Right.
shrine, but I was definitely aware of it. But
No,
the
but you might have
Mansons,
had some paperbacks in your room that you read about it, or some
hmm.
articles, or you might have talked to some friends at school and had a conversation. And
Hmm.
gosh, if that came up in court like a couple of months later, right? Wouldn't it look
Hmm.
just as bad?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It
So,
could. Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like, the times have changed a little bit. So we
Hmm.
are all, as adults, so highly offended that it's a school shooter that he's idolizing. But
Hmm.
for a kid his age, it's like, why not?
It's a little bit more understandable. I get that. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
more understandable. I
it,
still think then I would, as a parent, and I saw that, I would still be like,
I would be
"You
too,
are
because
you
of the
aware of what this
violence.
person did?" And have a conversation with them and just say, what's going on?" Right? Just as
It's
simple, "What's going on?"
definitely an opening for the mental health issue, because that
Yeah.
school shooter had mental health issues too. It's a thing like, well, why are you fascinated with the fact that it happened? The fact
Hmm.
that nobody helped this kid, the fact that he was troubled, because
Hmm.
this isn't normal. Like, you have to have that conversation as a parent.
Yeah.
This isn't normal what happened here, right? We don't want to accept that that's the standard of dealing with any problem. That's
Right.
not a solution. We're not looking at a solution here. We're
Mm-hmm.
looking at something that's wrong in our country that needs to be fixed. There's something
Mm-hmm.
wrong that needs to be fixed. Like, that's not a solution. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's a conversation that would need to be had. But then again, nobody wants to think that he's idolizing it because he wants to be it.
Mm-hmm.
No, I can't imagine a parent walking by that shrine and thinking, "Oh my God, he's thinking about shooting someone."
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine thinking
Right. And if
your
anything, Grandma
child,
thought it was going to be him self-deleting himself. She thought it was going to be that. She
he
never
would hurt
thought,
himself,
yeah,
right?
she never thought he hurt
And
somebody
yet,
else. He thought he
and
was going
yet,
to hurt
there's
himself.
no. And here's the thing with Colt: there's no sign that
Mm-hmm.
that was going to be what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Even when they found him, right? They took him over. He surrendered. Like, it all ended pretty quick,
Mm-hmm.
and he did not try
No. As soon as
to
they
delete.
said, yeah, they said drop it, freeze, or whatever. He said get the F down or whatever. That one school resource officer. He immediately he dropped. He put his arms out. He knew exactly what to do. Um, yeah. So he didn't run. He didn't fight. He didn't resist. He knew exactly what to do in that situation.
Right, and there,
Do you,
he would have had time, you know.
do you think, okay, that's he related to them emotionally. Do you think, I know a lot of people are saying um, he wants the notoriety, he wants the to be, be now known. Well, he does have, notoriety, I guess, but he wanted to go down in history. Do you get that at all? Do you think Colt was trying to do this
No,
to
for
be
him,
part
I
of
think
history?
it's more about control,
Hmm.
about admiring that shooter for actually taking control of the situation and doing something about something.
Hmm.
I think this is a kid that's out of control and sees all the adults in his life not handling their
Hmm.
lives very well, not doing anything about anything, and I think it's more an issue of control than fame.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
All right.
because you know why? Because this kid did so much manipulation and hiding.
Hmm.
It He acted out with his folks and stuff like that, but when it came to officers or people in authority
Hmm.
where his name could be known, like, he acted the opposite. Like, he's
Hmm.
violent and volatile in front of his folks and does all of that, but then in front of the officers, calm as a cucumber, nicest kid you ever met. "Oh, no, officer, I would
Right.
never,
Yeah.
never,
The
ever."
only The only time was he was on his computer and he said a teacher that was in one of his reports that he was disrespectful to a teacher. So I don't know if he swore at them or whatever. But you're right. Every time law enforcement was involved, which was the FBI tip, and then
Mhm.
obviously the day of.
But even
Um,
to the people that talked to him from the school, or even when they talked to him the one time from family services, respectful and forth, like, what they thought was forthcoming, but
mhm,
actually was being very manipulative and hiding everything.
mhm.
Like, he was masking totally. So I think it was more a matter of control than fame.
Gotcha.
Um,
I
it was
didn't.
about, like, somebody's gonna do something about this, and I'm gonna make them. Like,
Right. So a couple good comments there. Peach Pie says, unlike Colt, Cruz had lots of help and adults who cared. And then Lily Wayne is that Cruz wanted to be the biggest. He wanted to be. I didn't really follow that case. It was. It hit a little too close to home for me.
Yes,
So I
Cruz
didn't
was
follow it.
really into the fame of it, and he was
Was he?
showing off, like,
Okay.
absolutely.
That's what
And
that was
I
about. Right.
don't see Colt even bragging about that he has a gun,
Mm-hmm.
like, or
Yeah.
anything like that at school, you
Right.
know?
Right. Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. What do you think? I'm pretty
I
good
think
with our recap. Do you want to add anything before
I
we let you go?
No, I'm really curious to see what happens. They said they're gonna end, or prosecution should wrap up around Wednesday, they said.
Hmm.
I
Yep.
wonder if the defense is even gonna bring forward a case. I can't even imagine what kind of witnesses they would bring.
Um,
Um
yeah. Nobody on the mental health side, social
No,
workers.
I think the only one who could speak to the issue is Colin, so if he's
Yeah.
not testifying, I think they wrap up and we're at verdict by Friday, like,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. I think
Another
so.
really quick one, a lot quicker than we thought, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, we always shave it. We always shave it down. When we heard 3 weeks, I thought a week and a half, and here we are. If they end on Wednesday, that would be a week and a half. Then closings. Yeah,
Mhm,
we could definitely have a verdict by Friday. Definitely have
mhm.
a verdict by Friday. And Corey Richins is starting next week too, so it's gonna be a busy week for us for sure.
Yeah, at this point, though, let me ask you, Chris, do you think
Mhm.
the prosecution has made their case for
Yes.
how he's charged? For how he's charged, right?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, well, I said yes quickly there. I want to see the verdict. I'm sorry, the verdict form. I want to hear the jury instructions in the verdict form. I want to
I
see.
want to hear the points they need to prove to
Yeah,
get to the charge, because
yeah,
they're actually saying they had to prove willful intent for the cruelty to Colt to get to the cruelty to the children. And I
yeah.
want to see where, you know, they do that, uh I think it's 50-50 at this point. I think the prosecution is doing a good job of showing that all of the people that tried to help the family and the family not doing anything. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely see proof that Colin failed getting help for his son, who was clearly flailing
Right.
away and
And
drowning.
the
So
only reason
I see
he's
that.
charged and not everybody is because he bought the gun.
Yeah,
And so it's easier, like, to get there. Although buying that gun was not illegal. There's no law against that right now.
right, right. Yeah, I think it's going to be the jury.
There's a reasonableness why he shouldn't have. We all can
Mhm.
see that. It's poor judgment.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the jury instructions and the verdict form will be key. That'll be
But if
key
bad
for me. Yeah.
parenting was truly illegal and you could charge people straight out for it, we would have some really, really crowded jails, would we not?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That
Yeah.
is true. So, all right, what do you have going on later today? Are you going live? Are you dropping a
I
video?
do. I have my regular 48 the 48 laws
Oh, right, right. Okay.
stream. We're
Okay.
halfway through. We've got law 25 that we're covering. We didn't get to do it last week, so I'm
Mhm.
looking forward to that. That's usually 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Times on Saturdays.
Mhm.
That's really currently the only live that I'm doing besides these recaps.
Okay.
I used to go live a lot, but right now I'm doing mostly video. I did just drop a video on this case about,
Mhm.
I think it would be pretty obvious from that video how upset I was with Georgia law.
Mhm.
Actually made them culpable in this case,
Mhm.
because it's a very emotional case.
Yeah.
In but but people need to talk more about all of the contributors to what happened. If they're going to
Mhm.
use the event and try to prevent that event from happening again, then we need to look at a lot more than just Colin Gray
Mhm.
when
Yeah.
it comes to that shooting. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what comes out of this. I'm sure you'll keep your eyes on it too, like next year, 2 years from now,
Yeah.
see if anything comes out of it.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
from a constructive standpoint, of course. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean, I used to talk a lot more about gun issues when I did political review more often, but it's a very unpopular. It doesn't make you very popular out there. That's for
Mhm.
sure. No,
Right.
it's not a conversation a lot of people want to have.
No.
Um,
Yeah.
right.
All right. Wait. Hanky Panky Mom. The indictment states he is charged with allowing Colt access to firearm ammo after receiving sufficient warning that Colt would harm and endanger the bodily
Exactly.
safety of another.
That he actually is ignoring information that is showing that Colt is going to hurt someone else,
Hmm.
not just himself, someone else, like
Yeah.
to put anyone else at danger. And yeah, I think with the school in um with actually the text messages back and forth, the only thing is, like, if grandma had actually shared a lot of those text messages with Colin,
Hmm.
I think it's a slam dunk. But
Yeah.
the fact that the defense could ask her, "Did you tell Colin?" and she said no, well, that's a big one right there.
Yeah.
We actually have to show that he had the information. Everybody talking about it, or following up with an email to say, "Hey, we need to talk to you," isn't telling him.
Hmm.
Okay. So is he being a bad parent by not following up? Absolutely. But they have to show he knew. He actually knew. And that's the hard part. But I think
Hmm.
they're getting there. Don't get me wrong. I think they're actually getting there. But
Hmm.
that's what the jury has to decide. Did he actually know? Like, did they give him enough information to know it? Yeah.
Hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's for me, I'm really looking forward to hearing the jury instructions and seeing the verdict form and how they go through that and how they can apply what they've heard to, what the law is and the charges, and see how that all works out. So that I'm looking forward to that. So,
Hmm.
all right. Are you, some people are talking about this storm that's supposed to be brewing here.
Oh, yeah, another one.
Are
Like, yeah, like,
you, are you supposed to
yeah.
get something?
Oh, yeah, the whole shore is because it was first the northeastern, and we get those a lot. That's a lot of rain and wind. Well,
Yeah.
now it's rain and wind in a cold that's gonna be snow. So it's like we're in the 18 to 20 some odd region all across the shoreline, like
Oh, wow.
all across the shore there. Actually, I'm a little bit inland, so I'll get less, but I'm looking at 10 inches at least. But it's the wind along the shoreline at 55 miles an hour that's gonna cause drifts and pile-overs in lots and lots and lots of snow.
All right. That sounds
Yeah.
like a mess.
Yeah,
That definitely
so
sounds
my
like a mess.
fellow I think we have 2 or 3 people from New Jersey in your chat because there was another woman besides Todd who said she was from, and we're looking at another big mess.
Mhm.
Everybody bought out the stores already. My 9 o'clock delivery for groceries got moved to 3 o'clock because everything's so crazy. Everybody trying to stock up,
Mhm.
you know. Yeah.
All right.
So
Yep. Yep. Todd saying blizzard. Barry 18 to 20. You're 24 to 36 and
oh,
flooding.
yeah. Oh,
Lori's
yup.
8 to
And
10.
it's the whole Northeast, like, it's
Wow.
all the way up the coast. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I
All
mean,
right.
Massachusetts, Delaware, like, everybody, everybody.
All
Oh, yeah,
right.
so Linda's in Bergen County. You
Bergen.
got
Okay.
quite a few people from New Jersey in your chat. I'm impressed. Hello,
Yeah.
Jerseyans.
That's north, right? That's the northern county.
That's a little north of me,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
North and west, I believe, like north and a little west. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, be safe. And we don't have to worry about this storm affecting our Georgia trial or our Corey Richins trial. So, um,
No, and you're safe where you are too. I don't think it's coming anywhere near you guys, right?
no,
No,
no. Yeah,
no.
we're supposed to get rain, I think, tomorrow, but I guess that then is going to turn into this nor'easter for you guys. So,
Yeah. Well,
all right.
right.
All right. Well, we'll let you go and
Well,
we'll
thank
do.
you for having me. I really
Sure.
enjoyed these.
Yeah.
It helps exercise my legal demons.
There you go. Well, we always appreciate you coming on, and we'll look forward to your 6 o'clock stream. We'll definitely
Oh,
jump on
thank
over
you.
there. And
Yeah, it's also always a strange just trying to turn that book into calming sense for everyday life. It's a challenge, definitely.
yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. So, all
All right,
right,
thank you.
Claire. All right.
I
Take
see
care.
y'all later.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Just want to quickly go over Smile More, please. Thank you for doing this. Happy Catter Day. I love that. And then Mallory, thank you for your $9.99 support. The jury needs to see the consequences of his alleged neglect and endangerment. I do agree they could have selected fewer witnesses from the classroom. They are now getting to the neglect. And then finally, Claire. Who's that? Who's that Claire View person? Became a new member. Thank you for that, Claire. Really appreciate that. So, all right, you guys. I'm going to once again thank our co-host Claire for coming on our this weekly week one recap for Georgia versus Colin Gray, and we may be having a final one next week if it does go to if the jury does get to deliberate and they come up with a verdict by Friday, then we'll do another one, and that may be done. We may be done. So with that, thank you guys for joining us. Really appreciate you spending your Saturday afternoon with us. And then also thank you to our mods and thank you to Erin for all that she does. And I will see you guys Monday for day 6. And then we're also going to be doing Corey Richins. We'll be doing her afterwards. So it's going to be a busy day for us. I hope you guys are ready and up for the challenge. It's going to be a full week next week for sure. All right. With that, I will say goodbye. Have a great one. Got no kitties. I usually show kitties at the end of a stream, but they're all sleeping somewhere else. All right, guys. Take care. See you later.